Hello, everybody. Welcome to Timesphere, where we have timely discussions that are hardly ever on time. Scott, this is our second to last episode of the year. There's
hmm
so much. I mean, I would say there's not a lot of gaming news going on because it's the end of the year. But gaming adjacent news, including just a metric ton of like op-eds and stuff that lead to, and like interviews and stuff coming out from post game awards, last second previews of games that had demos at game awards, which wasn't that many this year, or at least not that many that had embargoes that are going to lift before the end of the year. We should be seeing some of those probably early 2026, if I had to guess, because I do know that there were some demos going on. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's been a very slow classical news week in terms of people reaching out and being like, "Hey, new game," or "Hey, new update," or anything like that. So, what have you been up to in the lead up to the holidays?
Um, what have I been doing? Yeah, just been sort of uh wrapping up our work for this year over at Story Mob, setting things up for January. And just been keeping a big eye on I'm just still sort of like basking in the announcements from the Game Awards. I still just really was just so happy with the quality of games that were announced and how many were seem so like tailor made like for me in particular. I did finally start playing some Arc Raiders. I did end up getting it and playing a little. So far it's I like the gameplay. I like the searching, and I love how everyone, for the most part, is pretty friendly with each other. Although I did just have my first like big betrayal, where someone was friendly with me for a long time, and then as soon as we got into the little lift to take you home, they betrayed me and took all my stuff. And I wasn't even mad. I was like, wow, they put in the work
They put in the legwork, yeah.
to get me to lower my guard. So, well, now it means that everyone else I run into, I
Much
will
more
be
wary.
very hostile
You're jaded
towards.
now.
And we'll talk about it a little bit when we get into if we end up talking about the marathon announcements today,
Mm.
or the stuff that was announced. But it's kind of got me more excited for that because the one thing that I'm not crazy about in Arc Raiders is the gunplay and the shooting isn't really my cup of tea. And it just but it also just reminds me of how much I really like bungee shooting. I think it's kind of similar to what we talked about with Highguard, where it's like we have a lot of questions about this game, but we know the shooting is going to be good. And for me, I feel like that's doubly so for Marathon. There's a lot of questions about this game and whether it be good, but I know for a fact that the shooting is going to feel great. So I'm actually a little bit more excited for that now, but I'm also I've only done the first like the dam, like the basic map in Arc Raiders. I'm
Yeah.
still very early on. Um, but yeah, it's been fun. I've been enjoying it.
I mean, let's just touch
A
on that
little a little
little
a
bit
little
now, I
different
guess.
effect.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
we
say
can get yeah, sure.
because
Because I
I would, like you said, the marathon the marathon story, quote unquote, other than the fact that the one of the creative, I think it was the art director, creative director, yeah, the art
Mhm.
director left. So people are like, oh,
Yeah.
they're really gonna pin this on him, and I'm like, I don't know if you could pin a game flopping on an art director, but
Yeah,
um,
I for me that's more, and I'm not trying to, I do PR but not for Bungie. I'm not trying to spin it for them, but like I feel like with the game director leaving or the art director leaving, that seems more like he's done
the
everything
game's
he's
coming
had to
out.
do.
So for reference, they officially announced the game is slated to come out in March 2026. So they're not planning any more delays. It's going to launch for $40, which was the rumored price point forever.
Yep.
So
Same
isn't
same same
yeah.
same price as Arc Raiders.
So that's why I wanted to bundle the conversation in here. So first off, art director leaving doesn't matter as much as a game director leaving, and so the conversation actually popped up in my mind because the Exodus Studios game director actually left, but he's staying on as a creative consultant with
Mhm.
Wizards of the Coast and with the game studio. And his whole thing was like,
Yeah.
I felt like we're in a strong enough place because the game's slated to come out in 2027 at some point. Like my part of the job
Mhm.
was done, and I want to focus on tabletop stuff. So that's a whole. It feels
Yeah.
like there's more people leaving projects and like staying on as creative consultants and then going to work on something else because they're essentially their part of the job for the game is done, and so then it's left up to the other game, a different game director or producers and stuff. But your point to Marathon, the more arc raiders that succeeded, and the more the conversation around Highguard has kind of hovered around like we really have to wait and see because it looks bland to an extent.
Yeah.
But we know that the combat, like the guns and the movement and stuff, are probably going to be really sick because we know who's
Yeah.
making it.
Mhm.
I think Marathon might actually pull out of this, like come out of this like really negative tone that has been placed on the game for quite a long time. If Arc
I
Raiders can keep up
agree.
the momentum, or like even if Arc Raiders falls off a little bit, but like people are willing to be like, oh, I paid $40 for Arc Raiders and had a great time with that. Marathon's pretty similar. Let's try that. Like if initial impressions are good, if Sony and Bungie can nail the marketing portion, like the pre-release marketing portion of the game, I
Yeah.
think
I
Marathon has a much better chance of succeeding than it did 6 months ago.
I think the art in particular and the visual style and the sort of like kind of like creepy horror sci-fi aspect of it, or like the like a lot of there's a lot of like cyberpunk vibes to it. Um I think is really cool. I think it's something that really helps it stand out. World building is something that Bungie has always done really well.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously the things that need, I mean, everyone, I mean, here's the thing. That's never been a problem for them. I mean, that's when they were showing off music and like the first like cinematic trailer that was just like story and world building, everyone's like, this looks great. And the big thing was like, this looks great, but I don't want to play an extraction shooter. But there is obviously a market for extraction shooters, as Arc
Yeah,
Raiders has proven
and
as
it's
a
grown,
success.
and it's grown since the
Yes.
the controversy around Marathon has always been, and it's almost been more tied to Concord because of the Concord
Mm.
stuff. Like we are sitting here in a quote unquote post Concord world where
Mhm.
people are comparing Highguard to Concord, they're comparing
Yeah.
Marathon to Concord, they're comparing Arc Raiders to Concord. Any multiplayer game that has a shooting element with like hero element or some kind of like characteristics to it gets compared to Concord because people don't really have the wherewithal to compare it to other shit. They don't
I
have
think
the
the
go ahead.
I was gonna say I think the gaming calendar going forward should use BC and AD, but instead of before Christ and after
Before
death, it's
Concord,
before
after
Conquered,
Concord, yeah.
before Conquered and after death.
I mean,
So right now we're in what, two AD?
no, it's one. It died last year, didn't it?
Oh, it was last year. Oh my god, where does the time go?
Yeah. But
Or I guess the opposite of
uh, I mean, we're sitting here because Concord, people don't understand. Like people that are just casual, like I don't want to say casual gamers, but people who just like observe, like watch content and like play games, don't understand
Mhm.
like how like meteoric of a flop Concord was
Yeah.
across the board. We've never seen something like that in the industry in modern
Yeah.
day. Like it was
I
on a level on here like on before seen.
it kind of took away the idea of something being too big to fail.
Exactly.
That no longer something that is a real thing. It's something that in terms of cost, in terms of how quickly the plug was pulled, in terms of how just quickly the studio was shut down after, how just in terms of marketing, of understanding what the audience wants, just a big miss. I think it really, Concord, like Arc Raiders, like Marathon, was like, we're not going to do, you know it's not a free to play game with but full of microtransactions. You buy it once, that's it. And in today's market, specifically for a competitive multiplayer shooter, not an extraction shooter, but specifically for a competitive
Yeah.
multiplayer shooter, there are so many of those, and most of which are free to play. Look at your Marvel Rivals, your Valorant, your Counter Strike,
Highguard.
your Apex, yeah, Highguard, the big five,
Yeah,
including
Highguard
Highguard.
instantly moves into the big five. Yeah, makes it the big five.
Um, but I mean, like for every, but there's also, because look how many look how many of these shooters come into the space, even free to play ones, and still struggle. Shrouds, Spectre Divide,
Yep.
here and went, gone in a month. Um,
Ubisoft's one.
uh, oh, X Defiant, yep,
That
X
one.
Defiant, and that and that one had a really
That one had a player
positive.
base and was well received, but
Oh,
it
it
just
had a
fell
player base
off.
that was well received. Yeah, it's just something that
He,
to be able to sustain is so hard. But back onto Myth. I do want to talk about, because in order for this game to be successful, they've got the mood, they've got the Bungie gunplay, they've got the things that they know that fans already know Bungie is going to deliver on. But it's like, how do they get the people who? How do you get these people who are like, you know what, I do want to play Arc Raiders? Like, oh, this does look fun, and like that really comes down to gameplay. So I just want to revisit. This was, in case people missed it, because there's, we're going to get into what people have really been talking about in a little bit in terms of like the big gaming discourse. But last week they announced essentially a bunch of a huge gameplay, like a huge gameplay insight vision post. March 2026, like we said, $40, like we said. Um, some new features, proximity chat, which I feel like you absolutely had to have
Yeah.
for an extraction shooter. I'm shocked they didn't have it. A dedicated solo queue. Arc Raiders. Here's the thing: we're gonna do a lot of comparisons to Arc Raiders, but I think that's fair. I think because that is like their direct competition at this
Their
point.
direct competition
Tarkov,
right now is Arc Raiders, and then to a lesser extent the Helldivers, and like the more single player focused games that are going to be
yeah.
coming here have been out or are coming out.
Or if they want to, like, maybe they can put, maybe they want to reach people who've kind of maybe got burnt out on Destiny. It's like, hey, this is what we're working on now. I mean, I feel like that's a bit of a harder task
It's a
because
little
I
bit
feel
more of a
like
stretch, but I see what you mean. Yeah.
I feel like one, it's because they're different genres of games. And then two, I think maybe that the people who feel like Bungie has kind of maybe dropped the ball a bit on Destiny in recent times, are like, you know what? No, we're good. Like I've been burned once and I want to be burned again. Um, but like I said, proximity chat, I was amazed that wasn't originally in the game. Dedicated solo queue. Like, so essentially you control runner, but you're not really you're not like a person. You're sort of like a detached mind, and then you inherit different shells, and
Yeah.
that's how you go and do your runs. One of them is called Rook, which you specifically will. It's sort of like the free kits in I almost said Expedition 33, the free kits in Arc Raiders and the scab runs in Tarkov, where it's like you go in, you don't have as great of a kit, but it's pretty much like there's lesser stakes. It's like if you lose everything, whatever, you win in with nothing anyway. But you could potentially you go for marathon in particular, you'll go into matches that are already in progress. Um, which I think is really cool. I think that's a great way to get. I think there's a lot of people who want to play games like this, but like, oh, but I don't have a squad to play with, or I don't have friends who, or I don't have friends who are interested in this game. And so having more options for solo players that they can still play and not feel like they're just going to go in there and get bullied by squads every time. But also for people who do want to play squads, you'll have an advantage, and you'll have that fun that you'll have the fun, the experience that the devs want for you. They also and then there's other things too. They announced their different maps, including the first endgame challenge, which is like the marathon ship itself, will be one of the maps. Um, New factions and different jobs. That's a common thing for all these extraction shooters. You have factions or you have factions or NPCs who give you quests, and you go out and do them. One thing that the one thing that they kind of stumbled on with this announcement was um they showed off like the new main menu, which looked a lot more cleaned up and a lot more polished. At the very top of it is store, and people were immediately like, "Oh, they're trying to get you." Like the first thing they want you to do is go to the store and buy microtransactions. Well, but that's like the actual store that your character used to like buy,
Yeah.
purchase ammo and weapons using the things you've sold, or that's where you go to sell things
Yeah,
and
it's the core
get
gameplay
upgrade.
mechanic store, not
Yeah,
an
it's
actual store for
not
you.
not like not
Yeah.
like the store for you to like
Again,
go
another
purchase
bad
like
faith
skins and stuff.
discussion about the game. Like,
Right, yeah. I mean, I'm excited for it. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna
to be honest,
play it.
I probably won't get into Arc Raiders. That just seems like a little bit out of my wheelhouse. But I played a little bit of Destiny. I like Bungie stuff. Like I played, uh, oh god, two Halos.
Hmm.
I played the original Halo, and then I guess I also played Halo, um, Infinite with you guys when we did the multiplayer runs.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
But I played Reach, and I really liked Reach, and I think Reach is like the pinnacle of what kind of what Bungie is now, almost, in how they like do things. So knowing how Bungie operates and like playing a little bit of Destiny and Destiny 2, I'm excited. I'm more excited for Marathon, and if I hear my friends giving it some, I say friends. If I hear critics that I trust, and then people that I know that are reviewing the game, and like you and some of our other friends talking about the game positively, I'd be much more willing to jump into that than like an Arc Raiders, just because I think um, that's just where I lean. But I am
Yeah.
more excited about the game now than I have been ever, just because that's usually not my wheelhouse.
I don't know if this will be the big. I don't think this will be like I don't think this will have the success that I guess you could say Arc Raiders is having. I just because I think there's still a little bit enough of stink on this game that has to do with how it's initially received, people who don't like Bungie, and just I just don't think it will have quite the same success as Arc
See,
Raiders have. But I don't think this game is going to flop like a lot of other
it
people are
definitely
saying.
won't,
I think this will be fine.
but how much of that stink do you think gets washed away when the people who never cared about the stink to begin with or get into the game, get their hands on the game, get the option to buy the game, and hear good things about the game? If they hear good things about the
Yeah.
game post review period or whatever,
Yep.
streamers getting paid to play it, and there's
Nope,
clips going around.
I was just gonna say there's gonna
Yeah,
be like every new game. Even Highguard will have it next month.
exactly. So my whole
There'll be a
thought
big
is like,
wave of streamers to
I
play.
think we're in an era where, depending on the kind of stink that's on a game, like Concord didn't have the stink around Concord pre-release, other than the normal stuff where it's like, oh, it looks like a generic hero shooter. How good will this be? Why are they doing another live service game kind of thing? We've got enough live service
Mhm.
games, like those kind of stinks. There was no stink from the general public. They just didn't hear
Right.
about it because they marketed it terribly. Like we heard about Concord, like what 4 or 5? We heard about it in the spring direct, or the spring state of play, for the first time. They got revealed with that cinematic, and we saw a little bit of gameplay, and then they teased it again in the like June state of play or whatever, and then they were like, hey, we're doing a full deep dive in July, and then the game was out at the end of August. Like that's
Yeah.
not a the Nintendo can do those cycles.
Mhm.
A brand new IP from Sony that no one has heard about, and it's a live service
For a
game
new brand
that
new
you have to pay for,
studio. Yep.
is not something that you can do that with. Like I could hear about
Yeah.
the new Mario game a month before it comes out, and I'd be like, I'm in if it looks good.
Yep.
But if I heard about Concord, like remove everything I know about Concord, and I'm like, cool. A month, 6 months before, if that cycle happened again, I would still be sitting here like, what? Why? That makes no sense from a marketing perspective, from a business perspective, from a what do you want people to know about this game perspective. There were only 2 play tests, and they were only on PlayStation. Like that's one of the, I don't know. We've talked about this enough. Like I'm more excited for Marathon. I think it has a much better chance of succeeding now than it did if it
Yeah.
launched when it was planned to originally. So
Yeah. I think the success of Arc Raiders is not something that will be um like a blocker for a marathon where it's like, oh, well, people are already playing this, so how much of the market they can do. I think that is a sign that there is a large market for these games and that they can
mhm.
have player bases that, obviously not forever, but will continue to go up,
Yeah,
for a bit time
it
after
could be a
the
secular
release.
market. It could be like people that play Arc Raiders are going to go to Marathon, and then they'll come back to Arc Raiders when a new
Yep.
content update goes, and they'll go back to Marathon.
And then when Tarkov comes out on Steam, they'll all go try
Well,
that, and
that's
they'll be
already
like,
out on Steam,
and
isn't
then
it? I think it's already.
I thought it was we're still waiting on it, but
If it what
I could be
regardless, I
wrong.
yes,
I'm often wrong, so I'll check.
but yes,
It is on Steam.
yeah,
I'm
I thought it
completely
launched on
wrong.
Steam already, like a couple like last month.
Wow, yeah, a month ago. Wow,
Yeah.
I'm completely
Well, I remember because Arc
completely out of
Raiders
the loop.
came out, and the whole thing was Arc Raiders had it like a 2 week window before like COD and like a 3 week window before COD and Tarkov launched.
I want to see. So right now, I'm just curious. Right now, Arc Raiders, there are 385,000 players. 24-hour peak was 386. All right, so it's about it where it usually peaks at.
Yeah,
Escape from Tarkov, 22,500. But then
yeah,
again, there could also be players playing on the original
yeah.
client
The
mode. I don't know if
the
it
original
completely
client. Yeah,
went over to Steam. So, yeah,
that game's big enough
I
on its
think
own.
yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think I agree. I'm gonna be excited for. I'm more excited for Marathon now. I was always a little bit higher on it, maybe the most, just because, like I said, the Bungie gunplay is enough for me to try a game.
Yeah,
Even if it's not exactly what I've loved, like a competitive shooter, maybe. But then again, I don't think the market, as we've seen Concord, I don't think really Concord, as we've seen from Concord, I don't think the market wants that. Um, or is I prefer, I would prefer like a tack shooter or like an arcade or like something like what would we call Marvel Rivals? We'd call it
Yeah.
like like an arcade shooter.
Yeah, so that's the thing with Highguard too, and we'll get off of this point real quick, but like
Hmm.
Highguard is kind of like we need to see what that actually is. Because people are calling
Yes,
it a hero shooter or more of like more of a hero shooter than like a battle royale. But
I
I
feel
need
like
to
they
see
were
what that
very vague about it in
exactly.
terms
I
of
think they
like,
needed to show more. Like I think we need to see more of that game before we can really judge where that falls on like
yeah.
the pantheon of is it closer to an Apex Legends? Is it closer to an extraction shooter? Is it closer to a battle royale? Is it closer to an arcade shooter? Like where does it fall between those like
Uh,
4 points of the compass?
so, but according to their Steam page, it is a PvP raid shooter.
Yeah,
Battle rival warden clans for possession of the shield breaker, then break into and
yeah.
destroy the enemy
They
base
have a
to
hub,
secure
like the hub
territory in
base.
this all. Yeah. Okay. So like, if it's something, what I always worry about is like, if so, like it's going to use this mode,
Mm.
and it has to kind of hit the balance between something new that that people will be interested in and want because they want to try something else, but also has to be familiar enough that it's not like completely alienating to
And then
them.
it has to
Um,
balance that with the game state, like the flow of like gameplay and everything like that.
yeah,
So
I think I mean they so far if this is the kind of game they want to do, in terms of how they're marketing it leading with this is from the Apex Titanfall people. Like it is exclusive. It is like this is entirely a project by the people who made those games. Making and if they are going to do free to play, putting it in people's hands as quickly as possible, not being like, oh, and it's coming late 2026. Like, I do think. I mean, ultimately, I think, and we talked about this already. Putting this in the final and one more thing spot for the Game Awards. Really, I
it
just
wasn't
don't
doing
think
it any favors. No,
I don't think it. I don't know if it's going to hurt it. It could. I think it actually could end up maybe hurting it a little
it
bit
might have
just
jaded
because
some people
now
away from it. Yeah,
it's I feel like ugh, like I wanted, they could have just done. Here's what I think, and then we can move on to the bigger news of the day because I think we've talked enough about these tangents. I think um they should have led with Galactic Racer, and that would have gotten people excited. And then people are kind of like put their guard down. They're like, oh well, they wouldn't be expecting another Star Wars things. They read with the big Star Wars thing,
yeah,
and then at the end, Fate of the Old Republic.
yeah. The
Casey
issue
Hudson.
is the usually the last thing has to show a bit more than what the Fate of the Old Republic trailer did, and it's also like really far out. So
Yeah.
like
What
not
was because last year Witcher 4 led, and then what was the closer last year?
intergalactic.
See, but then I feel like it's fine. Like it's because that was the same thing. Like it's just like world building and I think Intergalactic showed a little more because we
It
met the
did. It
character
had an
and
entire like story trailer almost in terms of
yeah,
like the
this was just
introduction
more
to
of
the
a teaser.
character.
I could see that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
like but you also couldn't like end with Mega Man. Like that Mega Man game isn't a
Mhm.
closer game. Like you could have ended with
No,
Okami without showing anything on Okami just because of the hype
yeah,
of like that entire trailer.
yeah. Well,
But
they also could have ended with Divinity, um,
oh god.
but that wouldn't have that but then, and with that, I think we transition to what's been the talking point of the week, Kale.
Scott, I'm so tired of this. Hello,
We keep
everybody.
expecting.
So, welcome to the podcast within a podcast that shows up every week, and I want it to stop because I want to stop, Scott. I want
We
to
need to make
stop.
a horror movie where like there's like a corner of your room and it's dark, and every day you come back from work or you go back into the room, the corner is getting darker and bigger every
Look,
day
I'm
until
gonna
inevitably it consumes
I'm
the
gonna start
entire room.
I'm gonna start using. I've got my grandpa's old like playbook clipboard from that he used when he
Oh
was a
wow.
basketball coach. So I'm gonna start writing down like strikes, and I'm gonna start keeping track of this and just put this off to the side every week. And when we pull it up, like I'm gonna start tallying, and I'm gonna keep track of like names and numbers. And I don't know what else, but I'm so tired of. If you couldn't catch on, welcome to the AI Shame Corner. This is where we talk
Yeah.
about AI, good, bad, regardless of whatever. I don't want to do this. This week specifically has been it's been nonstop. Like once you
Yeah,
think
it has
one topic
been
is gone, another one pops up.
it's been the biggest talking point amongst like it's I wanted after the Game Awards to talk about, I would have loved to keep talking about Highguard and talk about what we can expect out of Video Republic or what cartel I'm gonna ride for in Star Wars Galactic Racer. Instead, we have to keep talking about this.
Look, let me
Like,
just give an overarching primer, and then we're gonna get into this. So this is the timeline of how it's happened. So post Game Awards and pre Game Awards. As always, we talked about how there are demos and previews and parties and stuff at the Game
mhm.
Awards, usually involving a lot of games press, some content creators, and then devs of all kinds because everybody's out there to celebrate the Game Awards and to be out there for the event itself. During that time, typically a lot of the bigger devs that might not always do press tours and stuff will sit down with a select number of journalists and do
Mhm.
conversations. Like I know we're going to be talking about Larian here, so this is Sven, the CEO of Larian. Sven, what Vanke?
Sven Vinky.
Vinky, yeah.
Vinky?
Uh, so he sat down with several different. I know Polygon had one. I know Imran.
IGN had their own as
Yeah,
well.
Imran over at Restart had one that was actually like very pointed and discussing something very. A lot of these focus down on like some specific things rather than whatever. The one we're gonna initially talk about is from Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg, who was pretty broad and discussing like several elements of things going around at Larian and in game development. But he asked Finn about AI usage, and then some other people chimed in about AI usage, and then there was a whole issue at the Indie Game Awards about AI usage, and then today there was some additional follow up about the Indie Game Awards AI usage stuff. So not that not the award show using it, but something that happened during the show involving AI. So Scott, I'll let you read the initial kind of pull from Jason's article that you pulled, and then
Yeah,
we'll kind of get into this.
I will give the poll from Jason's article, and then I think for clarity, so we can all kind of like make our so you at home can also make your own decisions or
Yeah,
views on it. I will read because Schreier acknowledged that this got a little bit more blowback than he
yeah.
expected.
He
Um,
released the full transcript basically
so the full
as of
transcript. So here's what um Schreier initially wrote. Um, and this is obviously from a much larger article. And if you go to Schreier's Blue Sky, if you click the link that is attached to one of his posts from December 16th, you can read this directly. You don't need a paywall. It's actually like
we will
it's like a
this
free link
episode
through the newsletter.
starting with this episode of Timesphere. We're going to be including the actual links to the articles and like our sourcing down
Yeah,
below, not just links to the websites themselves.
yeah.
So
I think Schreier saw this take off and
yeah,
attached it to like his like newsletter page so that
yeah.
everyone could read it. Here's what he wrote. Under Vinky, Larian has been pushing hard on generative AI. Although the CEO says the technology hasn't led to big gains in efficiency, he says there won't be any AI generated content in Divinity. Quote, everything is human actors. We're writing everything ourselves, end quote. But the creators often use AI tools to explore ideas, flesh out PowerPoint presentations, develop concept art, and write placeholder text. The use of generative AI has led to some pushback at Larian. Again, a quote from Sven. But I think at this point, everyone at the company is more or less okay with the way we're using it. Now, I'm now going to say, um, uh, I'm going to read from the transcript,
Yeah, the transitioning from the
from
article
Schreier
itself into the
Schreier
full
and Sven.
transcript and
Yeah, so
context
this is
from
yes.
Schreier.
So let me see here. Jason asks, speaking of efficiency, you've spoken a little bit about generative AI, and I know that's been a point of discussion on the team too. Do you feel like it can speed up production? Sven, in terms of generation, like whiteboxing, yes, there's things, but I'm not 100% sure if you're actually seeing speed ups that much. You're trying more stuff, having tried stuff out. I don't actually think it accelerates things because there's a lot of hype out there. I haven't really seen, oh, this is really going to replace things. I haven't seen that yet. I've seen a lot of where you initially get excited, oh, this could be cool, and then you say, in the end, it doesn't really do the thing. Everything is human actors. We're writing everything ourselves. There's no generated assets that you're going to see in the game. We're trying to use generated assets to accelerate whiteboxing, which is like a very well, I'll finish this quote. We're trying to use generate assets to accelerate whiteboxing, but I mean, to be fair, we're talking about basic things to help the level designer. So whiteboxing is like your very early stages of like concept forming. This is like
It's
This
an
is like
industry
for
term
stuff.
for like filling in the box. The white box is like the box, and you're filling it in initially.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
And so Jason asks, what about concept art? Sven says, so that's being used by concept artists. They use it the same like they would use photos. We have like 30 concept artists at this point or something like that. So we bought a boutique concept art firm at the moment that everybody was using, reducing them because they were. Hold on. So we bought a boutique concept art firm at the moment that everybody was using, reducing them because they were going to AI. In our case, it just went up. If there's one thing that artists keep asking for, it's more concept artists. But what they do is use it, meaning generative AI, for exploration. In
In
terms of
this, yeah, in this case, what he means by exploration, and what he's clarified again, and we'll get to his follow up comments to this kind of blowing up,
yeah,
is uh essentially using it as exploration in that like the same way you would use a photo to take inspiration from for a like if you were looking at like a picture of like the New Mexico like like landscapes in New Mexico, and you take that and you're using that as inspiration to how does a mountain fit into this kind of like geography that we're trying to do for this concept art that we're going to eventually use to make a backdrop or something, that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Obviously, go ahead.
Well, I just want to get through. Let's get through all the statements and
Yeah,
the quotes and everything. So like I said, you can go to Jason Schreier's Blue Sky, Jason Schreier, not B Sky, and you can see the full dialogue from Sven. But obviously, the original quotes from or the original text from Schreier got picked up. Everyone ran with
it
it.
ran with it. Yeah,
Um, ran with it. It got a lot of backlash on social media. Some people saying that it's poisoned Larian, that they're disappointed, that they're upset, maybe they won't get Divinity. Here's what Sven said. So this was after everything picked up. This was about the same day or a day later.
yeah.
This is on X. And what a way to start off a public statement. Uh, Holy fuck, guys, we're not pushing hard for or replacing concept artists with AI. We have a team of 72 artists, of which 23 are concept artists, and we are hiring more. The art they create is original. I'm very proud of what they do. I was asked explicitly about concept art and our use of Gen AI. I answered that we use it to explore things. I didn't say we use it to develop concept art. The artists do that, and they are indeed world class artists. We use AI tools to explore references, just like we use Google and art books. At the very early ideation stages, we use it as a rough outline for composition, which we replace with original concept art. There's no comparison. I've talked about how we use machine learning here. If you'd like to do more, and he links to a GameSpot article about Larian using machine learning for all parts of for essentially Larian using machine learning for quote tasks that nobody wants to do when they were developing Baldur's Gate 3. And finally, he says, we've hired creatives for their talent, not for their ability to do what a machine suggests, but they can experiment with these tools to make their lives easier. And then 2 days later, he had a follow up. And it's been a week. Excuse me. It's been a week since we announced Divinity, our next RPG, and a lot has been lost in translation. Larian's DNA is agency. Everything we work towards is the benefit of our teams, games, and players, a better workday, and a better game. Our successes come from empowering people to work in their own way and bring the best out of their skill and craft so that we can make the best RPGs that we can possibly make. In that context, it would be irresponsible for us not to evaluate new technologies. However, our processes are always evolving, and where they're efficient or fail to align with who we are, we all make changes. To give you more insight, we'll do an AMA featuring our different departments after the holiday break, in which you'll get the opportunity to ask us questions you have about Divinity and our dev process directly. We'll announce the date in the new year. In the meantime, wish you all happy holidays. Okay,
So
so
yeah,
with his most recent statement, there's a little, I think they're essentially giving themselves a little bit of runway to potentially walk some of this back. I think, especially that the thing, our processes are how, like he said, it would be responsible for us not to value new technologies. However, our processes are always evolving, and where they're not efficient or fail to align with who we are, we will make changes. That to me reads like they are going to have a big think about this over the holiday break. And I think if what he says is true and that it's not really been that efficient and hasn't really been helping them that much, I think they potentially walk that back and they announce that right before this AMA so that the AMA isn't just fans and fans of the
concerned
Larian,
about
Baldur's
AI
Gate, and
and stuff. Yeah.
Divinity, just absolutely overflowing with questions.
So I want to add. I think that the longer his statements went on in terms of like explaining himself and following up, especially the taking a couple days and then announcing that AMA, um, definitely feels like he understands where the the whole country, and we've talked about this endlessly. He mentions in that thing taking tasks that no one wants to do and optimizing it with, that's what they're using AI to try and optimize out or whatever. I'm not a creative, like I'm not a an artist, but when
Mhm.
that we had this whole conversation, and I mentioned it on Blue Sky earlier today for something we're going to talk about in a minute, where we had an entire work stoppage, and I think we mentioned this on the podcast before, at Gamers when we both worked at GotY Sports, because they
Mhm.
announced a role for an AI editor that was going to edit generated articles for specific things, such as like guides for like Wordle and stuff. Uh, and the internal memo that we didn't get an internal memo, but so some of us
No.
that were very outspoken and had been around for a long time and held positions of somewhat, I don't want to say power, but positions of like
Yeah, there was
importance.
definitely not. There were no powerful
Yeah,
positions there.
exactly. But they called me and a couple other senior writers into calls with management to be like, "Hey, this is what we meant." And the explanation basically boiled down to, we're trying to optimize and like do this for things that no one wants to waste time writing. Like the Wordle guides that, yes, get traffic, but they take a lot of like they're monotonous and they're no one likes writing them and stuff. But the underlying understanding here for the writers is it's going to start there, and as that becomes successful and optimized, and they realize that that is easier than dealing with writers, or cheaper than dealing with writers, or however you want to spin it, they're going to scale that up. And that is always the concern, especially here, is that yes, they might use it for ideation, which
Mhm.
I don't understand. I don't really get that. For I understand it's easy to be like to type into whatever generative thing they're using to be like, hey,
Mhm.
this bird in this pose doing this in this background, and then they look at it and they're like, okay, cool, and then they don't even like sketch over it or do anything. They take it to their art. They look over here to their tablet or whatever they're doing art wise, and then use what they saw there to then
Mhm.
come up with their own version of it that's the original concept or whatever. There's less of a concern that that's bad to me than like actually like stuff that like EA or Crafton and all these other companies are doing. And then but like I the whole point of this is the worry from the fans, especially the media literate fans, is
Mhm.
hearing that they're using it at any scale, because using it at any scale could eventually lead to it expanding internally and then
Yeah.
replacing some form of creative work or creative process in a larger way. That's where the concern is for me. That is where my biggest concern is, hearing like level 5 mention using ChatGPT or like LLM
Mhm.
generative things to create NPC dialogue, or even
Yeah.
just to like test NPC dialogue. Like same with artists. Like artists get caught all the time using reference, but the using reference is just sketching over a thing and doing their own
Yeah.
version of it. Like
Mhm.
that's not that's not like direct plagiarism, but it's as close as you can get. You can still get a lot of trouble for that. And so
Mhm.
if you do the NPC dialogue, or when someone does test art or test music for a thing, test music is a huge use case for like a movie or some kind of like project, and they use test music, and then the people will be like, okay, I want something like that, and then nothing sounds quite right because they just want to use the thing that they use for the test music because they're testing against that in their mind. Like doing dialogue like that could just be like, oh, why don't we just use the dialogue like that, or why don't we just slightly edit the dialogue and keep that.
Mhm.
It could scale to that eventually, and that's where a lot of people like me specifically are worried about AI usage in this kind of shit, generative
Yeah.
AI usage in this kind of shit.
I think for me, I'm less concerned that generative AI usage will become more widespread, specifically at Larian.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I understand that Sven has eaten a lot of crow, or taken a lot of shit over this
Mm.
past week. I still believe that he is someone who cares about the games industry, who cares about the people who work in it. I believe he doesn't want to. I genuinely believe that he doesn't want to replace people with AI,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
which we do know that a lot
People are
bigger
trying, yes.
companies want to do that. The problem though is when now this is becoming when this is now becoming more widely used at developers and with games that are have such widespread acclaim and adoration from the fans, whether it's your Larian Studios with Baldur's Gate and Divinity, with Clair Obscure, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, with even Arc Raiders, which we mentioned a little bit earlier, using it a little bit. These games that are successful, that are critically acclaimed, that have big player bases, that are winning historic amount of awards, when it's being used for these, then these bigger companies that don't have that same, that are trying to like find success and they're not having as much success, so they're trying to cut cost. They see that, and you know, maybe these companies have had, maybe there's been a bit of reservation, I feel like there's some people at Xbox and Microsoft who've seen it the way that people have been reacting to AI and be like, you know, maybe we should ease off just a little bit. Like we try to make all the employees use it. They didn't want to.
Yeah, I mean the Phil
You
Spencer
know,
comments from like we talked about like a month ago or whatever, where he's like,
yes,
we are very heavily exploring it, but we're never going to force it on our developers if as
yeah.
long as if they don't feel like it can help them do it. Like that's the
But
bare
if they
minimum
then
element of
But if
that.
they then go look over and look at Larian, and they look at Sandfall, and they look at Embark, who are making these popular games, these successful, accoladed, player heavy, like beloved games, they're using it and finding success with it, then it's just going to continue to the levees are going to keep breaking. And it's on the point now where it's not approaching the slippery slope. We are on the slippery slope. And now it's going to be how hard is it how much is it going to hurt when it falls?
We're
Is
reaching the
it
make
going
or
to
break
be
point in terms of like we're already at the discussion point of it, where it's become like an every week there's some kind of discussion around it, both in our space and then also like the general gaming space.
yeah.
And so we're probably in like 6 months going to reach a breaking point where it's like, okay, where where are the lines drawn? What are the conversations? What are the protections? Who's unionizing against it? Like that kind of stuff.
Because I think the worst thing that can happen from all of this isn't that, honestly, the worst thing isn't even like all game studios being like, yeah, we're just going to use Gen AI now because it's useful. I think the worst thing that happens is they stop talking about it and stop telling people that they're doing it, and now it becomes then you have to like work to find out how much is being
Well,
used in the
here's an
games.
example. Here's a good example of that. So, Avatar 3 came out. Avatar Fire and Ash came
Yes,
out, right? And ahead of
saw
that
yesterday.
was the first Avengers Doomsday trailer,
Yes.
right? If you type in Avengers
Um.
Doomsday trailer, because they're not releasing it online, if you type in Avengers Doomsday trailer on social media, AI
Mhm.
videos are the first thing to pop up. And people are
Yeah,
watching that in droves, thinking it's the real
thinking
thing.
that. Yeah.
My aunt last night when we took my dad out to for his birthday, we took him out to dinner, and my aunt asked, "Hey, is there a Gulliver's Travel movie starring Jack Black coming out?" And but we're like, "You mean Gilligan's Island?" She asked if there's a Gilligan's Island movie starring Jack Black coming out. I was like, "You mean Gulliver's Travel? That one came out in like 2010, 2011 or something." She's like, "No,
Mhm.
Gilligan's Island." I was like, "I don't think so. Haven't seen anything or whatever. Gulliver's Travel is the only thing that came up when I was looking it up on Google and like movie sites." And she's like, my brother's like, "I think you got tricked by AI." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing that's everyday life now. Is people just doing like that stupid the dude who was getting dunked on for making every famous actor ever look like Dragon Ball characters filming a live action movie
Oh
that
god,
went
yeah, that
viral.
was.
That kind of
Yeah.
stuff. That stuff is becoming so much more common. Uh,
I mean, I guess I'm still happy that my algorithm still,
yeah,
whenever that stuff does
curate
show
you're
up,
curated against it. Yeah,
it's either whenever it does show up, it's usually like a quote tweet of someone, just like people just dunking
dunking
on it
on
and
it.
thinking
Yeah,
that this looks stupid. Which like kind of defeats the point, because if you're quote tweeting it and it gets
people don't
engagements, it just
understand it. People do not understand that quote tweeting a
that's
thing that's bad
the
or sharing a
last
thing that's
thing.
bad is
I
just helping the
know,
thing that's bad.
I'm like, like just do a screenshot,
Yeah,
please. Like it's
I don't
and
get it.
anyway, we're gonna go
Uh,
off track.
so
Um,
that's the Larian side of things is let's be clear here. Neither Scott or I think Larian is in a negative position in terms of like where they want to be with AI. We think that I think both of us believe Finn in terms of like what they were using it for and what their plans for using it are. They weren't going to replace anybody. They were just using it as like a bare minimum tool at the earliest stages of whatever. Uh,
Mhm.
we're just worried about what that means for like it's like cultivating a parasite.
Yeah.
Like that's what this is an analogy for, is like regardless of how good your intentions, regardless of how small it is, it's still letting the parasite in, and that
Yeah.
parasite will grow in some
Yeah.
way, shape, or
I
form. Whether it be, it could even not be with you. It could be when it passes on to someone else.
Yeah. If because right now it's with Larian in particular, it's a private company. They don't have they self publish. I believe they self publish. They're not like owned by like a bigger
They
corporation.
take money from,
So
like, they get deals with other people like to do stuff, but yeah,
yeah, but
they're
like
still
they
privately owned. Yeah,
privately owned. They make their own decisions. So with them, there's less of a risk of like it becoming like essentially it's less positive conditions for the parasite.
yeah.
And I think that as we said earlier, we don't think Sven has any like evil intentions in mind, but there is just like a base
It's the
evilness
undertone. Yeah,
to to AI that even if you're using it for like you're trying to be good intention, you're not trying to replace people, you're using it for like the very bare minimum of like starting out with ideas, that there is still something wrong with it. They mentioned we get money, we this is the same we would do if we like looked at something from an art book. Well, if you get something from an art book and you take inspiration from that, you've bought that art book, and so you're supporting the artists that it get that who are and so the artists who are in that art book get some of that money. When you go to whatever these, I don't even know what these Gen I two is. Mid Journey, is that one of them? Mid Journey, like these like Gen AI tools that have just been copying and stealing stuff from other artists and putting it into their big algorithm. Yeah,
I
that's
am
art
learning
books like
art. I one of my goals for 2026, and I've been on and off doing it this year, is learning digital art. Like I can draw okay with pen and paper, but I want to learn how to draw digitally. So over the last couple of years, I've been collecting art books for games that I really like. I've got Octopath Traveler, I got like Fire Emblem Awakening, I've got like a bunch of art books down there because I like looking at these and getting inspiration from games that I really like and artists that I really like, taking
yeah,
inspiration from those for like how do they structure their backgrounds, how do they like how do they make their characters stand out, like what's their color, like how do they choose their colors to match like the backgrounds of the characters, and like make it stand out in terms of like maybe what they do like story wise and stuff too. Like all those elements are interesting for me to study as someone who has no background in that kind of art. So hearing even that they're using like AI, hearing someone say they're using AI at the base level to like help them even ideate concept art is baffling to me, when
mhm,
you can use the real thing and then let your imagination fill in the blanks.
right, right.
I don't understand why, but we've talked about this specific point enough.
I just want to
And
I just want to finish driving home the
yeah,
point
go ahead.
about like how even like AI just as like at its base level is bad. Not only is it taking content from artists and not crediting them and just not only is it being used for the slop you see on Twitter and for misinformation, blah blah blah. It's also caused like computer parts like RAM and other things to
Oh
just
God, don't get me
skyrocket in
started on
price.
that. I had a whole conversation about that last night.
It's also just bad for the environment. It's just overall like the rise of it, because like we talked in the past, there are ethical uses of it, and there's situations where it can be used where machine learning can be a
But that's
good
not
thing
generative.
like in certain
That's
fields.
not the
That's not
generative
generative.
element of it,
Yeah,
which is a whole other
learning
thing. Yeah, a whole other element of
looking at
this.
an AI like looking at how like a series of tasks are done and learning a more efficient way to do it or streamlining it, like that's fine. Like I think it potentially it can still take away jobs and work from like programmers or like coders and things like that. But like at least it's not like replicating creative work. And when we get into that, that's when I think people have a that's I mean not just a think. It's clearly people have a big problem. And so I guess just to wrap up the Larian stuff, we got more to talk about. Like
Yeah.
you said,
So
the corner's getting bigger and darker. But to wrap up the
to
Larian thing,
wrap up that
I
part
I
portion
think
of it. Yeah, go ahead.
I think they are going to walk it back a little bit.
I agree.
Especially if by Sven's own words, he said it's not even been that efficient. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, then it's like I think they sit here and say, well, it's not been that efficient. We know this. I don't think this thing that's not really that efficient been helping us that much is worth like our reputation being tanked. So let's walk it back. Let's say we listened, we reflected, we talked amongst ourselves for weeks, and we think that it's not something that we want to use right now. He'll put the little like he'll say something vague like we're always open to discussions about new technology and blah blah blah, but like essentially leaving the door open for them to potentially change their minds later. But I think we get a bit of a walk back, up like maybe during or right up before this AMA that they're gonna do. So
yeah,
I'm excited to see. I'm excited. I mean, not excited. I'm interested to see what goes on in that AMA
yeah.
when it
That's
does
something
happen.
that I'm very interested to hear. Obviously, we're also going to learn some really cool stuff from other elements of Larian's like development process too. So that'll
Yeah,
be
like
cool.
because at the end of the day, I want to play a new Larian turn-based RPG. I
Yeah,
want to play their biggest one yet. That's going to be the biggest thing they've ever done. Like I want to play that. Like I'm not like
I just
this.
don't want this
Like
cloud hanging over them.
yeah, it's like for me, it's not like oh I'm never going to touch a Larian Studios game ever again. And I think the people who are saying that are being a bit performative. To be honest, it's just like
That's a
okay,
performative
look.
element of this. Yeah, like you
I
gotta
think I like
learn more before you do
if
that.
there's a very select few developers who I'm going to give a little bit of like not give them a break or like let them off the hook, but it's like I'm gonna trust that they can make the right call even if they made the wrong one this one time.
Yeah,
And I would put Sven on that list. I'm hoping I'm not wrong, and if I'm wrong, and if he doubles down on it, I'm
yeah. Then you'll have to eat the crow.
then I'll eat crow, and then I'll have a decision to
Yeah.
make. But I don't see that happening.
Now, before we move on to the next point, which is the final point on Larian specifically, um, is I want to mention what Giovanni Colantonio, the editor at large of Polygon, said. Is if we're going to get really no quarter about Gen AI usage, I'm going to need people to learn the difference between AI and Gen AI real fast. And then following that up was Kate Sanchez from But Why Though, mutual of mine, that says, this is my biggest issue. Having been in tech for a decade, the way that people have collapsed the two is honestly extremely dangerous and shows the need for education on the issue. We've talked about that at depth for multiple weeks. We'll continue talking about that element of depth,
Yeah,
differentiating AI, Gen AI. One is good, one is bad. They just get lumped together because all the big tech all the companies that are wanting you to associate them together have bad
yeah,
intentions because they want to get all the good associated with all the bad. So,
yeah.
moving on. Uh, this is a but now the issue here is, and we're not going to touch linger on this part too long. With all the Larian stuff that has been happening, a bunch of people have been speaking up about Larian's hiring process, working at Larian, stuff. I know there's a big thread, and I couldn't find it before we started this, and I don't want to misquote or anything. There's a big thread about some sexual assault and like mistreatment and stuff by coworkers that were deemed as too valuable to be let go from the team during development, during periods of development, and like a whole bunch of stuff. And then this one from Bruno Diaz, who's a creative in the industry over on Blue Sky, said, uh, Larian's horrible hiring process is an open secret in the industry. Insane amounts of unpaid work and writing tests, successful numbers of interviews, months and months of back and forth, etc. Everyone in games narrative circles has heard the stories at this point, probably from multiple people. There's plenty of examples of this kind of stuff, and so we can't actively defend Larian as a company. We don't
Hmm.
know the inner workings, and we don't know. So we were just our part of this conversation comes purely from the outside looking in at the creative process and the usage of AI. So this,
I,
yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to say one thing about the Larian hiring thing, and I'm glad you brought this up. I think it is now let me get my go home statement out. I think it is understandable that for a company like Larian, with the high standard of narrative character writing they do, that you would have some pretty daunting tests or pretty exhaustive tests for people to write for this company. I understand that like that there being multiple trials and having it take a long time to get the right people in. I think that in it by itself is fine. What I have a big problem with is having, like I said, months and months of work, lots of writing tests, excessive number of interviews, to do all this stuff and have none of it be paid. I will say, for my current job, I had to do some writing tests, and they were, I would imagine, much smaller in scale compared to what Larian would have
They're
you do
talking
to
about
be
like
like
full
never
on like
a company.
making scenes like essentially playable
Yes.
in terms of like
And my employer paid me for those tests.
yeah.
And then thankfully hired me, so I have a job. But it that's where I draw. That's where I draw. Like you can't have this big exhaustive um process for writing, which I think is important, especially for a company like Larian, but then have it be unpaid. I think that's my big problem with it. And then the stuff about like working internally, I hadn't heard about that until now. If that's true, then that's
Yeah, there's
obviously
a
bad.
big dichotomy of the posts that people are talking about. And so that's why I said I didn't want to like I wanted to bring it up because I remember reading it. I just couldn't find it, and I wish I could because I wanted to bring it up. But just on Blue Sky, there's a lot of developers that have worked there previously, worked there. I don't know if anybody that's worked there currently has spoken out, but a lot of just discussions around like Larian is like Larian's culture internally, externally, and stuff. So that's worth reading if you want to understand more about the entirety of the discourse going on. We just wanted to focus on the creative element of it because that's what we could read up on and have been keeping up with. Now to quickly, this is kind of the bow on this story, because Kingdom Come Deliverance studio head responded to the Larian backlash. Now this was before the most recent comments from Sven about the Q&A and like a bunch of the other stuff. Um, but he basically came out and said, where is this? This is from X, the Everything app, which everything is always better on the Everything app, as we know. Where he
Hmm.
goes, what's his name? Daniel Vavra. I can't. It's got a accent over the A, so I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm uncultured, sorry. But he says this AI hysteria is the same as when people were smashing steam engines in the 19th century, which I've heard referenced so many times. It's like this is the same as denying the like the what you call it, the technological revolution, like that kind of stuff. Larian said they were doing something that absolutely everyone else is doing and got an insanely crazy shitstorm. I've even seen someone accuse us of using AI in Kingdom Come Deliverance too. I don't know anything about it except that I used Topaz Labs to upscale some of the AI elements from Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and some of the old low res textures. I am no fan of AI generated art, but anyway, it's time to face reality. AI is here to stay with us, as frightening as it may be. That's the way it is. Personally, it scares me the most in music because you can't even recognize AI is there anymore. And then he continued, you know what I hate most about making games? The fact that it takes 7 years and 300 people and tens of millions of dollars to make. And the fact that Tom had to spend 500 hours in the studio recording completely generic heckling and generic bars. If AI can help me make an epic game in a year with a smaller team, like in the old days, I'm all for it. That game will still have an art director, writers, programmers, graphic designers, but they won't have to do any of the tiresome, boring tasks. They'll have to focus on the essentials. I have the ideas for a lot of games, but I'm 50 years old, and so far it's taken me 7 years on average to make one game. If AI helps me realize those ideas faster, I'm all for it. That again, I'm not going to rehash the boring tasks and the things no
Hmm.
one wants to do element. Um, he does make good points about being extremely scary in music and like AI upscaling in terms of images being used in
Hmm.
certain ways, and that's DLSS, and that's a whole other conversation for images and live gameplay and stuff. Uh, I don't agree that the AI is here to stay part of this uh, discussion and like the AI hysteria being overblown. I just wanted to bring this up because it's just another studio head chiming in and saying their take on this and being like, we
Yeah,
didn't.
I think there is some truth to what he is saying, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also a lot of there's also some elements that I would not agree with. For the fact that he's like, so far it takes 7 years to game, but if I can make the same quality of epic game in 1 year, then I'm all for that. It's like I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't care how much AI, if you're using a ton of AI to make the development of a game drop from 7 years to 1 year, that is not going to be a good game.
Yeah,
Let me tell you, that seems like that's going to be a swap disaster
yeah.
if that's what you think the end goal is. Also saying what being like, oh, what he said is fine. Where we're doing something that absolutely everyone else is doing. First of all, and again, we're not trying to be like the Larian defenders here. I would say what Larian doing is not what everyone else is doing when it comes to AI. There are a lot of parties that are doing way
Much
worse
worse. Yeah.
things, much worse things. And so to try and equate what Larian is doing to like what some of those worst people, I think is a little disingenuous. Um, but yeah, there is some, there is the idea that it is here to stay I don't know if it I think there will always be some element of it. I don't think we're going to be able to completely resist, AI, not just Gen AI, but AI as a whole being around games. With
Yeah.
generative AI, here's the thing, and this kind of touches back on the point I was trying to make, when we talked about Larian, where what the worst case scenario is when developers just stop talking about it altogether and just we don't know what they're doing. We don't know how much Gen I they're doing.
After
Um,
that. But yeah, no, just like the whole point being like, who knows where AI is going to lead, and like, but like, who knows in like what capacity. But as long as it's like disclosed and it's not like, I don't know.
it should
We
it sh- yeah, I think that it's important that it remains disclosed going forward. I think that's a really that's important for the industry just in terms of like let people know like because I always think people should know what they're buying. And so if Gen I is used if Gen AI is used in games, um in no matter what, like in any regard, I think that should be disclosed. That's my point.
Yeah, and that pivots nicely to our next point. So obviously, shout out to 6-1 Indie and the Indie Game Awards. That happened on the 19th. It was great. Well put together from the small team over there. Shout out Mike and Kyle and the guys. But after the award show, uh, I don't know, like the timeline here is weird. So when we talk about AI before the Game Awards, when we were doing our predictions for the Game Awards and stuff, we mentioned that there was the controversy back in July ish of people talking about did Clair Obscure Expedition 33 use Gen AI in some form of development, because it looked like there was the poll with like generative art that's since been updated out of the game or claimed to be updated out of the game, all that kind of stuff. Uh, well, Clair Obscure Expedition 33 was up for multiple things in the Indie Game Awards. It won Game of the Year at the Indie Game Awards, and then the day after, Mike had to release a video talking about a decision made by the committee because they found out after the fact that it was confirmed that Sandfall Interactive did in fact use generative AI in small elements of their development at for Expedition 33. So this is reading
Mhm.
from Mike's statement over there. For reference, they also removed Chantley, I believe is how you pronounce the game, which was one of their Vanguard, which is like some upcoming games or some much smaller games. They removed that because Mod Retro, the company that's helping fund that and is being published in part with the console itself, the retro hardware, the people that run that, the guy in charge of that is an absolutely terrible person, and they're also selling a limited edition console on their website right now made out of attack drone parts. So fuck that and fuck them. Uh, don't support that company. But back to this. The Indie Game Awards have a hard stance on the use of Gen AI throughout the nomination process and during the ceremony itself. When it was submitted for consideration, a representative of Sandfall Interactive agreed that no Gen AI was used in the development of Clair Expedition 33. In light of Sandfall Interactive confirming the use of Gen AI in our production on the day of the Indie Game Awards 2025 premiere, this does disqualify Clair Obscure Expedition 33 from its nomination. So that was them. That was a direct statement from the nomination committee, and then Mike released a whole video discussing this a little bit more in depth and going over it, where he says that yeah, they confirmed it with Sandfall that they said no Gen AI was used, and then confirmed Gen AI was used. So again, this is a whole thing that's discussed. There's barely any sourcing on the actual usage of Gen AI in
Mhm.
this.
There
The
was there was like a newspaper interview that
Yeah, so I have the Polygon piece that I linked in the thing pulled out,
great. Yeah,
uh,
perfect.
which is the only real thing that it has anything to do with it. It's in June, the Spanish outlet El Pai or El Pais published a story including an interview conducted around Clair Obscure's launch, in which I don't Simple Interactive's Francois Maurice admitted that Sandfall used a minimal amount of generative AI in some forms during game development. This is via Google Translate, so accuracy be damned, I guess. But we use some AI, but not much. The key is that we were very clear that we wanted to do and where we to invest our efforts, and of course, technology has allowed us to do things that were unthinkable long ago. So again, that's almost basically confirming that they did something very similar to what people are accusing Larian of at a higher scale. But this is like actual assets that made it into the game, similar to like what Ubisoft has done a couple times and what like Level 5 did in their most recent like their football game that came out a couple or the soccer game that came out a couple like last month, where the assets made it into the final game and then got updated out. So this whole thing got blown so out of proportion, and people like being like, "Oh well, whatever." This is where I shouted out Mike like on when he made the post yesterday, saying, "Hey, good on you for standing on business, especially since it was clearly outlined in your guidelines ahead of time, and you asked them
Yeah.
straight up, like." Regardless of your thoughts on the minimalist usage and like the ways they use Gen AI or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
where it was just for art or just for who, that does not matter when the
Yeah.
entire process at its base said, "Hey, we do not take anything that uses Gen AI."
Yeah. This really shouldn't have even been that big of a head, like a big story or big blow up on Twitter, because it wasn't like they were. I mean, there's a little bit of them like taking a stance against Gen AI. I mean, that's why they're making the ruling, but they're not doing it because they're doing it because of like pretty much more of a technicality. It's like it's part of the rules, and willingly or unwillingly, Sandfall broke the rules during
Yep.
this, and so yeah, I listen. I don't think they're going to be too broken up about it. They just
Yep.
put on a historic performance at the Game Awards.
Based on the articles coming out today, post this announcement where they're talking about like their development and stuff. I mean, these were probably all interviews that happened before this was announced and whatnot, but there's articles coming out today talking about like the new DLC that dropped after the Game Awards and like their development process and how they're not going to scale up because they think that like having a smaller team lets them be more intimate in what like their decision making and stuff. So I don't think they're going to be too beat up about it. I think, but there's a whole this blew up. A bit, so their award got rescinded. Blueprints was awarded the game of the year in its place. That was the second most voted game from the nominees. Uh, and then, oh boy, Scott, this is the fun one for you because you weren't around for this one today. Uh, and I'm gonna try and keep this short because I want to get to some fun stuff and talk about some more like some more stuff other than AI today. But
Please.
today there's an article published to The Escapist, which, for clarification, Scott and I both worked at Gamers. They owned The Escapist while we were there for the latter couple of years. From what I understand, no longer owned by Gamers. Under new management, entirely new staff, entirely new everything. That's a whole thing you can go look up. But they published an article, and this is from Olivia Richmond, who's someone that both of us have worked with, me more in a more direct capacity on some beats and whatnot over the years. But she published an article that has now been corrected, but the original article, which I have in front of me, and Scott has the corrected article, and I also have that up that I'll be referencing here in a minute once we talk about the corrections, said, in a totally performative move, the Indie Game Awards stripped Clair Obscure Expedition 33 of a Game of the Year just to give it to another game that used Gen AI. So, for reference, this entire article is Olivia going through and talking about Clair Obscure's the mention of Clair Obscure using Gen AI, the referencing the article that Scott and I just read from the Spanish publication, referencing the stuff that happened with Larian, and then this specific the third paragraph or the fourth paragraph here is what specifically starts the downfall of this article. This, other than the headline being absolutely sensational, this was enough to cause a huge uproar in the gaming community for some reason. Yes, AI is cringe and taking jobs and using water and oftentimes creatively bankrupt. But let's be real here. All games use AI in some way. And that links to an article that she published 3 days prior to this article where she basically says the witch hunt against AI in gaming makes no sense. And then she continues, from NPC behavior to object texture to coding to tracking developer tasks, all games use AI. It's just the way it is now. Again, that goes back to the point that Geo is making and that Scott and I have made for 4 or 5, whatever, however many months we've been doing this show again consistently, where it's like there's a difference between AI and Gen AI. And there's a distinct difference there. And one is the thing that everybody hates, and the other one has been around for decades and continues to do good things. I'll move on.
Just I wanted to bring up the actual. I don't think we actually brought up the actual quote from Sandfall about AI. So this is from Francois, their CEO and production director. Like you said, this was a July 2025 interview with Opie. We use some AI, but not much. The key is that we were very clear about what we wanted to do and what to invest in. And of course, technology has allowed us to do things that were unthinkable a short time ago. To me, my interpretation of that is that it was more on the side of what we've been talking about, like maybe not ethical use of AI, but the actual like non-generative. But we also do know that there was some generative that there's
The
something like
placeholder assets is the concern.
placeholder assets. There's like a newspaper that was like posted on the like that you walk by when you're in like the main town at the beginning of the game. But yeah, that's
and it's
that's
mentioned. It was mentioned there.
Which is weird that he said that in July, and that this whole thing with the Indie Game Awards didn't how that's kind of like it must have just slipped through the cracks. Like someone at Sandfall forgot that he had said that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Along those lines, something fell through the cracks, miscommunication, something. Who knows? I do. Go ahead if you got something else to add there.
No. I want to continue on with this blueprint stuff.
Let me. I just want to read the
resolution.
I just want to read the tail end of this article before it got edited. So talking about the one of the H2s in this is blueprints also used AI, so who cares? We'll get to this in a second. The last 5 paragraphs here are. Let me be clear. I don't want to bash any journalist or writer or person. I don't want this to come off as I'm like bashing Olivia or The Escapist or whatever, even though this should not have been published. Like straight up, this is a oversight in communication. They didn't reach out to the company. They didn't reach out to Raw Fury for comment. They didn't reach out to any of the developers to get comment before they published this. They didn't even try. So here's the end of this. Ironically, Blueprints use generative AI for its art assets as well. This includes small stuff like various background pieces, nothing core, but it still used it. In fact, Blueprints developers didn't even claim that AI was patched out. This means that Blueprints still has AI assets in the final product when it was being judged by the performative and self-righteous Indie Game Awards. So just on those 2 paragraphs, there's no links, no sourcing, no nothing. Next paragraph. But again, all games have used AI in some way. It's no jab at Blueprints, it's a jab at the Indie Game Awards. This reminds me of my friends who tell me they refuse to use Amazon because Jeff Bezos is an evil billionaire. It's true that he is, but they're texting me from their iPhone while wearing clothes made by some sweatshop workers and listening to Spotify, which apparently supports eyes. When does it end? So that paragraph has substance because yes, there is some grandstanding happening, performative against AI, whatever. But capitalist society, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. Make your stances where you take them, all that stuff. Next paragraph. The answer is it doesn't. Period. Next paragraph. Picking and choosing the random things you want to do to feel better while still doing other abhorrent stuff will never cease to amaze me. So okay, Clair Obscure Expedition 33. Oh, there's more here. Was stripped of the award. Do you feel better about yourself now as you continue to play and award other games that also use AI? You're not proving anything. So the big point here is this feels like this had no business being published because there's no sourcing, no claims. The only there's two links in this entire article, and one of them is a link to the Escapists coverage of the Game Awards, Expedition 33 winning the record number of Game Awards, and the other one is to Olivia's own article saying the AI witch hunt in the gaming industry is pointless. The corrected article now, as stands, has this statement from the Escapist editorial team, giving an apology to developer Dogu Bomb and publisher Raw Fury, saying an earlier version of this article suggested that generative AI was used in making of blueprints. This has since been proven not to be the case, with Raw Fury issuing confirmation as seen below. The Escapist wholeheartedly apologizes for the inconveniences caused by this error, will ensure our editorial processes are adjusted in light of this error and to ensure we improve. Because Raw Fury straight up came out and said, hey, no, not true. This is not a thing. Didn't link out the Escapist article, didn't say why. And people pieced it together after the fact, and this started going mega viral after this. Again, I haven't even read the edited article because there's no point in reading the edited article. Like, it's highly edited, and like stuff is just outright removed from the article. Like, the headline now says the Indie Game, like, it's just the Indie Game Awards stripped Clair Obscure of Expedition 33, gave it to Blueprints. This is why journalists get made fun of.
Yeah,
this is why when the people can get away with saying, "Oh, reviewers get paid. Oh, you're reading IGN. You can't trust IGN." Oh, this is the kind of shit that gets us laughed out of conversations sometimes because stuff like this can get published, and this pisses me off.
No, it's understandable. Yeah, like you said, it shouldn't have come out. It should have been flagged before it went out. Just the lack of sourcing and really any credible evidence is pretty damning. And yeah, it's really that's really the big takeaway from this. Yeah, just it's really disappointing.
Yeah, and I don't want to rag on this too much. Like I again don't want to rag on Olivia too much. Don't want to rag on the publication that much. I will say, saying that you're going to do better, the bridge is burned. Like
Yeah,
most people stopped caring about the Escapist when all the crew left to form Second Wind from gamers, and then now it's owned by a different company that does gambling articles. And I saw I don't even want to get into the main editor of the publication who was made the joke when they were hiring people about, I want to make the website great again, like making Trump jokes. And then I looked at his page, and he apparently used an AI header image for one of his most recent articles. So I don't even want to get into that. But the whole point is that shouldn't happen. At minimum, you reach out ahead of time, regardless of if you're going to publish the piece or not. But you can't publish a piece like that is that inflammatory straight from the headline, makes all these claims, doesn't link out to a single source outside of your own articles that don't have anything to do with substance, because the other article you link out to that isn't an award show piece is another op-ed about AI usage in games being witch hunted for a pointless reason because it's already there. Like, you can't do that shit. That is bad journalism at every level. So whatever. What's good journalism though?
Mm-hmm.
Shouting out smaller games. We're gonna go over the Indie Game Awards now, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into this. Let's get into this Indie Game Award. So again, shout out 6-1 Indie. Mm-hmm. Shout out Mike and Kyle and their team that worked on this. They rock. They're awesome. It's great that they continue to scale up and do really cool stuff to highlight indie games every year. So this is Game Informer. So shout out Wesley LeBlanc, another one of the boys.
Yep.
And just like we're just gonna read through the awards and give a little bit of stuff. We don't want to spend too long on this because we're already over an hour in to the discussion here. But we do want to make sure that we've talked about the Indie Awards. We've been giving shout outs in the descriptions on and off. We just want to make sure that you guys are aware that this is happening, and it happens all the time. So achievement and accessibility, Peak ended up winning that. I think all of these are like this is what. This is another thing where it's like, this is the kind of category, like achievement and accessibility, especially for indie games, are really important because a lot of them are made by people that develop them with the need for accessibility in mind, at like a much smaller scale. So it's really impressive to see how much work they can do with how they do it. So obviously like Avionic Factor, Barista, Calm of the Storm, Peak, Spray Paint Simulator, and Squeak Cross, Home Squeak Home were the games nominated. Peak ended up winning. The African Indie Game Award is Stick It to the Stickman, which I don't think I played or even heard of. Like, another good thing about the Indie Game Awards is I'm pretty tuned to, in the loop with indie games, and I still haven't heard of a lot of these, so this adds a lot of things to my list to go check out when I have some time. So there's like Brew and Bogey Get to Milk, Finding Father, Flibius McDougal and the Mysterious Flying Machine, Aquila, Meta Voidal, and then Stick It to the Stickman, which obviously the latter won. The Australian New Zealand Indie Game Awards. I assume that's what ANZ stands for.
Yes, because Hollow Knight, Silksong, and
yes.
Abiotic Factor are both on this list.
Yes.
And both lost to the Drifter.
To the Drifter, and obviously the other games here are Mars First Logistics, Proximate, and Timpopo. Bite-sized games. Karimara, Beneath the Forlorn Limbs, Fly Knight, Mini Knights of a Whisper, Dark Queen of Morthalome. This game will end in 205 clicks, and then Time Flies. Time Flies 1. Black Voices in Gaming Award. Advent Neon, Althea, The Wrath of a Fairy. Sorry We're Closed, Spirit Swap, Lo-Fi Beats to Match 3-2, which I've heard of that game, and I need to play that.
That sounds like something I'd play.
I've heard nothing but good things, and a bunch of my friends have told me it's entirely my shit, and I need to play it. Sunken Stones, and then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical. Obviously, that game fucking rules. I played the shit out of that because I'm a big TMNT guy. But Athela, The Wrath of a Fairy 1. Community Management, Consumi, Date Everything, Aquila, Peak, Soulstone Survivors, and Strange Scaffold. Obviously, TMNT Tactical is a Strange Scaffold game too. Peak ended up winning that debut game. Expedition 33 won. I don't know if this one got. I don't know what got awarded for debut game. I think they mentioned it in
well, in this article, it still has Clair Obscure listed as game of the year.
Yeah, so I don't know what game was replaced for debut game here, but I think it got replaced too. It might have been Sorry We're Closed. But Discounty, Fretless, The Wrath of Rifson, Ela, A Frosty Glide, Sorry We're Closed, and Tyrant Storm were the other nominees there. Clair Obscure won. I'm pretty sure it got replaced by Sorry We're Closed, but so another one of these 5 games won that in the end. Emotional Impact, Afterlove EP, and Roger, Don't Get Your Hopes Up, Henry Half Head, Wanderstop, Wednesdays. I need to play Wanderstop really bad, but also And Roger I've heard a lot of really good things about, and that's what won. That game apparently will fuck you up in the best way possible, and by that I mean the worst way possible. Gameplay design, Absalom, Ball X Pit, Dawnfall, Hades 2, Hollow Knight Silksong, Keep Driving, Look Outside. Ooh. Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo, The King is Watching, Ball X Pit 1. Innovation, Blueprints, Free Ride, Gas Station Story, PBJ the Musical, Ruffy the Riverside, Taria and Como, Blueprints 1. Latin American Indie Game Award. What's up?
No, I was just going to say, I went up to the official website and went to like their spreadsheet. Sorry We're Closed.
Yeah, so I was right. That's what I thought they said in the video, but I couldn't remember off the top of my head.
Sorry We're Closed is the debut game with Clair Obscure Expedition 3's disqualification.
Okay, good to know. Latin American Indie Game Award, Avengers of Samsara, Despelote, Culebra and the Souls of Limbo, Pipistrello and the Curse. Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo, Taria and Como, Tormented Souls 2, Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo won there, which is a big win over Despelote, which I know was up for some Game of the Year awards at the Game Awards.
That was at the Game Awards, yeah.
Music, Everett 2, Hurdling, Rift the Necrodancer, so obviously Rift the Necrodancer won. Sono Kuni, Sword of the Sea, and Wheel World. Sword of the Sea fucking rules. Hurdling fucking rules. Haven't played Rift the Necrodancer, but it is on my list just because you can do a lot of really fun stuff with it. Narrative, Citizen Sleeper 2, Starward Vector, Consume Me, Promise Mascot Industry, The Drifter, The Root Trees Are Dead, Seance of Blake Manor. All those games are fucking rad. I have not played. Seance of Blake Manor's on my playlist. I need to add The Root Trees Are Dead. I haven't played The Drifter, but now I need to add that. Promise Mascot Industries I've heard good things about. Consume Me I've heard good things about. And Citizen Sleeper 2 is Citizen Sleeper 2. So I haven't played any of these, and I need to play all of them, which is crazy. But Citizen Sleeper 2 won that. Solo development. Lush Foil, Photography Sim, Megabonk, Naiad, Spilled, Tall Trails, Vile Exhumed, Tall Trails 1, Southeast Asian Indie Game Award, Afterlove EP, Artist Impact, Glyphica, Typing Survival, Sidap, A Culinary Adventure, Urban Jungle, and Whisper Mountain Outbreak, Artist Impact 1, Visual Game Design, 30 Birds, Artist Impact, Cat Detective Albert Wild, Eclipsium, Machina, Slime Rancher 2. Did Slime Rancher 2 come out this year?
I apparently.
I thought that was ages ago. I know Jess was super hyped about that game, but that was
2025, the first Slime Rancher.
I guess it might have come out in early access last year or something. I just know Jess was super hyped about it.
September, it was revealed in 2021. Game's 1.0 version was released September 23rd, 2025.
Okay. But 30 Birds won that. Yep. Women-led Indie Game Award. Cabernet, Duck Detective, The Ghost of Glamping. I love the Duck Detective games. Duck Detective Secret of and the Secret Salami is dope. Gimporium, Acute Mining Sim, Spilled, Urban Myth Dissolution Center, and then White Knuckle, Urban Myth Dissolution Center won. And then Game of the Year was a big category. It was Absalom, and Roger, Blueprint, Citizen Sleeper 2, Clair Obscure, Expedition 33, Consume Me, Hades 2, Hollow Knight Silksong, Keep Driving, and Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo. Expedition 33-1 was revoked, given to Blueprints, because that was the second place finisher. Community picks was...
Now this I'm curious, because did they revoke Clair Obscure from this one? Because it's a community pick. Let me check.
Yeah, go ahead and double check this, but community picks, best action games, Hades 2, best adventure game, Hollow Knight, Silksong. Oh, what's up?
Best role-playing game, which Clair Obscure Expedition 33 won originally, is now just not listed.
They probably, well, because they don't get, there's not like they either that's a tougher one to replace, but they probably will go back and like go look through the stats to find the second
Yeah.
place one. But yeah, that okay. Best horror game Repo, best interactive fiction Did Everything, best multiplayer game Peak, best puzzle game Blueprints, best RPG obviously is Blank now. Expedition 33 won originally. Simulation game Schedule 1, best strategy game 100 Line Last Defense Academy, another game I really need to play. I didn't know that was an indie game. I know it's by the Danganronpa guys, but I didn't know that was an indie game. Best survival game Abiatic Factor, and then best community game of the year Silksong. Signature awards, which are like they give out awards to these are like legacy awards almost. So Indie Vanguard class of 2025. I don't remember what the specifics of this are, but this is like their hey shout outs essentially. Chanty, which is the one that got removed. I believe something else they could put in its place. Neon Knives, Seasonala Cemetery, Hyperbeat, and then Wildwood Down were that. The Mohammed Fahimi obviously tragically passed away. He was one of the main developers on Coffee Talk and several other small indie games. But shout out to him. He was a really good dude. But Matty Thorson of Extremely OK Games won that award. And then Industry Impact was given to Game Devs of Color, and that was represented by Kat Small, Brian S. Chung, and Joshi Boykin. So shout out to all those winners. We just wanted to run through that because it's very important to highlight the smaller side of things, even if that segment was probably a little boring for some of you. So, but shout out, but I hope some of those games you've never heard of before, and you can go check those out. Link to that list from Game Informer, like all the awards and everything, will be below. So definitely go check out some of those games you've never heard of, or some of those that sounded really cool. Support indie game devs, support games media, all that good stuff. Scott, I want to jump around a little bit. I want to keep going with the games, the good stuff. I want to talk about the best selling games of Steam in 2025. I want to run you through a little game here.
You told me not to open this.
I did specifically note not to open this,
and
because
I haven't.
This is compiled over on Kotaku by Ethan Gach, who pulled from the Game Discover Co. and Simon Carless, who put together a bunch of stuff on his newsletter about the top 20 new games on Steam this year by total sales and total revenue combined, according to Game Discover Co. and like a whole bunch of other factors here. So I've got the list of the top 20 best selling, or here's the list of games with the most copies sold on Steam this year. And I want to see how many you can name of the top 20 here before we have this discussion here.
Does this include like revenue from games that have been
No,
out for a
this
long
is just
time?
This is just list of new games that with the most copies sold.
Okay.
Not revenue, not everything. This is just list of most copies sold.
And these are not games that released in 2025.
These are new games from 2025.
These are new games.
New games
released in 2025.
Yes.
Who's the most copies sold?
On Steam specifically, yes.
On Steam specifically, yes. Okay.
So we got 20 options. We'll see how many you can name.
So this wouldn't. I guess this wouldn't include like free to play games.
As far as I can see on this list, no.
Okay. I'm gonna start with Clair Obscure Expedition 33.
Number 10 on the list.
About it. Okay. Number 10. Okay. I'm gonna say Battlefield 6.
Not on. Oh no, it is. It's number 3. I was scrolling. Yeah, it was number 3.
Had me fucked up there, Cale. That's great.
I will say Call of Duty not on the list. I'll give you that one.
I was not gonna guess Call of Duty. That actually doesn't surprise me. Also because it's weird because like it's also on Game Pass, and then like it's just like you don't buy like it's in the Call of Duty app. It's weird. I'm gonna say Arc Raiders.
Number 6 on the list. I will say at least like 80% of these games.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, I'm in the zone. Blueprints. Oh, I have is on Game Pass. That may not be one.
Nope, not on the list.
Okay. Oh, Dispatch.
Number 18 on the list.
Okay. Snuck it in there. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
14 on the list.
Okay. Death Stranding 2.
Not on the list.
Yeah. Kojima's crushed.
He's going to listen to this podcast and cry to his millions of dollars.
I'm going to make the next one even more weird. That'll show him. Man, it's hard to like sit here and think of them. I don't want to like look. I don't want to like look at any like. I don't want to like look at like my Steam library or anything.
You need to think. I will say you need to think smaller first.
Smaller first.
There are bigger games on here, but you need to think smaller.
Ball Pit.
Not on the list.
Mega Bonk.
That is 12.
Okay. Small.
That should set the tone for you.
Okay.
That's my hint.
Peak.
Number 2 on the list.
Number 2 is Peak. Good for them. God, what else are people playing?
You got to think. You got to think similar to Peak, but not in like every way.
So like it's like a friend swap game. Or I hate that term. But that's what people have been using. I said Dispatch.
There are at least 3 more friend swap-ish titles on here.
Oh my god. I didn't play enough of these. Man.
There's like a couple more indie games. There's some obvious indie games. There's a couple more friend swap ones. And then there's like a handful of other big titles that you're missing that are pretty obvious.
My god. Hades 2.
Not on the list.
Probably because like it's
early access.
Hollow Knight 2 Silk Song.
Yep, 7.
I know the number 1 best-selling game. Oh, was it is Schedule 1 on there?
Number 4.
Wow, 4. Whoa. That's high. A
little bit lower on the list, but below Silksong and Arc Raiders is like a Schedule 1 mixed with Peak-ish game.
Schedule 1 mixed with Peak?
Kinda, yeah. A couple of these games you've heard people in the server we play Marvel Rivals in talk about.
God, I'm so blanked out right now.
Okay,
all right, you know what?
I'm gonna start. Do you want me to give you the answers? You want me?
Yeah, let's just give me the answers.
Okay.
This take too long.
So number 20.
Start number 1.
Oh, we're starting number 1.
Okay. Where do you want to start?
Probably at the bottom of the list.
Okay.
So number 20 is Revenge on Gold Diggers.
Would never have gotten that.
Yeah. Number 19 is Borderlands 4.
Oh, I forgot Borderlands 4 came out.
So did everybody else. 18 is Dispatch. 17 is Mage Arena.
Oh yeah, I remember having interest in that because I saw like a bunch of just incredible like social clips from that game.
Number 16, Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered.
Remake.
15, Split Fiction.
Oh, I was gonna guess Split Fiction, but I didn't know if it really. Nah, I guess.
13 is a little bit of a caveat just because it released on Steam this year, and that's Stellar Blade.
Oh, I wouldn't have got that.
Then Mega Bonk, then Elden Ring Night Rain at 11.
That was this year?
Yep.
I thought that was the end of last year.
Nope.
Okay.
It got revealed end of last year, I believe.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. That was the announcement at the game the Summer Game Fest last year. The last announcement at Summer Game Fest last year.
Right. Yes.
Then Expedition 33. Number 9 is RV There Yet.
Oh, you're so right. Yeah, I forgot.
Forklift is so disappointed in you.
No, that's okay. He can add a few more soundboard clips if he's that upset.
8 is Escape from Duckov.
Oh my god, there's so many fucking sloth games.
Then Silk Song, then Arc Raiders, then Monster Hunter Wilds at 5.
That's right. Yep.
Schedule 1, Battlefield 6, Peak, and I'm going to give you one more guess at number 1.
Oh no. Oh, I'm such a fraud.
Now, to be fair, I would have thought Peak was number 1 over this game, but this game is still had early. It was the early year longevity kind of like content game before Peak. So last year,
okay.
So think ahead, think a little bit. We had last year, end of last year was Lockdown Protocol, into early this year. This came after Lockdown Protocol.
Yeah. Okay. It's one of those like you're with like it's got prox chat and like you go around and collect things.
Yes.
And there's like horror aspects.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I know what it is. I can see what the game looks like. I'm blanking on its name. I want to say, is it something company?
No, that's Lethal Company. That was
Lethal
2
Company.
years
Okay,
ago
so
now.
there's a new. Okay, so it's a newer version.
Yes, it's more of a comedy one, like even more comedic than Lethal Company in a way.
Oh, I'm not gonna remember the name.
It's Repo.
I know what it. Repo. That's right. Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah. That's a pretty cool list. Pretty cool, interesting little list there.
That's a cool list. That's a cool list.
Yeah. Now the bad news of this is that November was a terrible time to be in video games in terms of sales. Like historically bad. So this is from Matt Piscatella, Circana, a whole bunch of different stats over on VGC, pulled together, where it's like this is like the worst year since like 2008. This is like this is in terms of physical software spending, it fell 14% in November 2025 compared to 2024, marking the all-time low for November since tracking started in 1995. Like the joke is that whatchamacallit, Xbox wasn't even top 3 because you had PlayStation, the Nintendo, and then the NEX.
The next
which is now sold out completely. Like I saw people trying to find one at Target, or not Target, at Walmart near me.
It was probably these headlines that it was like beating out Xbox, and people were like, oh, what is this thing? And then everyone went to the store.
It's really interesting. Like I kind of want to get my hands on one just because I want to see what it's about, just because of how. And I saw someone mention that it might be a cool acquisition target for Nintendo of all people.
It is an Android-powered console, features a motion camera similar to the Kinect.
Yeah, it's like a family-friendly focused
like
Kinect.
Fruit Ninja. Yeah, it's like a new. It's kind of like a new. Yeah,
but,
like
and it's got an all. So you buy the thing, and it's got an all-in-one subscription service that's a one price. You get access to every game, but it also has games built in. So like it's really cool.
So you don't have to. So you don't have to buy.
You don't have to pay, but if you pay the subscription, which isn't like a big subscription fee, like you get access to like a metric ton of games, including a bunch of licensed ones. So like it's really good for kids. Like if I had a family member with like little kids, it would be that or Nintendo. And I think that's easier to sell to a family with the kids because you don't need controllers. It's very interesting.
I think with the current with hardware and sales going down, it just seems like cost is really the big.
Well, I've got the stat for you here. Matt Piscatella says the average price paid for a new unit of video game hardware in the U.S. during November 2019 was $235. November 2025, it was $439. 3.9 million units of video game hardware sold in the U.S. in that same November. In 2025, it was down to 1.6 million, so down over half.
I think a bit. So it's a mix between cost, obviously cost going up. Like we talked about earlier, where like the battle for people's attention span isn't just between game consoles; they're also fighting streaming services and this fucking demonic device right here that just sucks in all your free time. And I think also it's also a little bit of like where it's like where we are at with the console generation, where like with the exception of the Switch 2, like PlayStation, Xbox, there's not really any new consoles going there's really nothing new that's been coming out. And maybe like Switch 2s have already maybe we'll get like another buff in December for like people buying Switch 2s in the holidays. We'll see. But I mean, it seems like it's a bad time.
I will say, just to end that part of the conversation, Call of Duty Black Ops 7 was the best-selling game in November. However, Circana notes that the Call of Duty series suffered a double-digit percentage full game dollar sales decline compared to November of last year. And we were making jokes the other night because you can already get it for 50% off, and it's been barely a month.
That is unbelievable. Like they are pretty much like I like how like there was so much like messaging in like the Call of Duty blog that was like, oh, we still think you're a success. So it's like, dude, like you can't like essentially commit to we're gonna do things different. We're not like essentially commit to we're never gonna like repeat.
We're never gonna do this again.
Like we think this was great. We're never doing it again. It's like, yeah, I don't think you think it's great.
All the signs are there. All the signs are there, Scott. And that's basically it. Like there's some forecasting
it's funny because every time I see like, oh, free Call of Duty weekend, I'm like,
no, Scott, don't be me, Scott. Don't do it. You have Arc Raiders, Marathon is coming out,
yes.
Highguard's coming out,
yes.
Marvel Rivals is good. There's good games, Scott. Don't do it. I get sucked in the hole because I can't go without basketball. There's other options for you. You can live.
I've been getting back into college football 26 and playing a little bit more of the playing a little bit more of that and doing a dynasty mode.
I almost either got that or Madden instead of getting,
because I like playing as like instead of like picking a team and like it's easy to like pick a team and rebuild that and stick with that one team and make a dynasty. I like doing like a mode where it's like I play as a coach and I start like the lowest possible job ever and I like work.
Yeah, you work yourself up.
Yeah, so right now I'm the head coach of Toledo, and we may get into the college football playoff just because we're dominating our conference, but it's a small conference, and we're still not a very good team. So if we play something like in Alabama or Georgia, we're gonna get our fucking shit pushed in. Also, just a quick sports aside, I'm seeing a message in my fantasy Discord about something about DK Metcalf getting suspended.
Great.
For next week. Did he might have done something
great.
Not great.
Thanks. I need more news. Steelers.
No, listen, I'm pulling for you guys today because he took a swipe at a fan in Detroit? What? He took a swipe at a fan? Oh man, that's crazy. Bro, I know that fan said something. I know that fan said, but
it might get overturned depending on how things go.
I'm pulling for you guys because if you win today, then the Bears lock in the NFC North division. So I need you guys to get it together.
Okay, well, we have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, so.
Listen, if there's one person I didn't want to have to ask to do a favor for the Bears, it's probably Aaron Rodgers.
There's a pretty long list. It's like it goes like Brett Favre, the owners of the Bears, Aaron Rodgers.
No, listen, the owners of the Bears brought us Ben Johnson. So
but now they're trying to move you to Indiana. So
listen, for me personally,
yeah, I know for you that's good.
No, hold on. Let me finish. As someone who lives in Northwest Indiana, it's gonna do more harm than good.
Yeah.
For me, like initially, I was like, "Oh, cool! I can just go see the Bears."
No, it's gonna screw over so much stuff.
Northwest Indiana is not handled. Is not cannot handle having the Bears here.
Yeah, we're just gonna leave Soldier Field after 100 years and move to Gary, Indiana. Good idea, guys.
No, the Indiana stuff is they're just trying to create tension and just trying to it's a negotiating tactic. And our stupid mayor is buying into it too. So he's like, oh yeah, we'd love to have the Bears here. It's like, I'm sure you would. And it's like, meanwhile, the Colts are like, what?
Yeah.
What about us? We were the darling of the league last month until Daniel Jones got hurt. And we brought in Phil Rivers.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, speaking of old things going for a refresh, I guess can we talk about League of Legends a little?
Yeah, we'll get into our little we'll wrap this up with some discussion on League and a couple smaller things here. But yeah, so I'll do this and then we can get into the part of the stuff that you brought up when we were discussing this earlier. But for those who don't know, League it was leaked that League was going to be going through a potential refresh in 2027 that would include a bunch of core changes to the gameplay. Yeah, go ahead.
Cecilia at Bloomberg, Cecilia D'Anastasio. I probably got that wrong, but she had a report that they're going to do. They're going to do
it's confirmed now.
Update. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then Riot came out and said, we were going to announce this after the holiday break, and that's out,
Yeah.
but we're confirming it. It's going to be a big like overhauling update that adds a bunch of new stuff. They're going to essentially change the name of it. They're calling it League Next. I don't know if that means they're changing the
They're
name
not
of the
going to
game.
there's no way
or-
they're going to rebrand it, but it's just going to be like the code name for it and probably like some part of like
Yeah.
the marketing where
It
it's going to
feels
be like yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
No. I'm excited to see. I mean, here's the thing: I'm not going to play, but I'm
Yeah.
excited for the people in my life who have
So
League of Legends, and this feels like something that is better now that they do now, as opposed to like they think the league is in such a bad spot that it becomes like a
yeah, and
like
they
a
mentioned
desperate.
the franchise's executive producer who released they released a video was going to be part of a larger dev documentary like what that they do every once in a while for their games that they were going to release post holiday break because Riot goes on holiday break like a lot of developers do, where everybody goes home for the holidays for like a week and a half. So he released a part of the video that essentially talks about reshaping parts of League in meaningful ways, talking about how they've already implemented a lot of this, like what they're going to do in bigger form, in like smaller ways in the current form of League, and a bunch of the reshaping they've been doing over the time. So like you've already seen some of the adjustments, but they're just going to be scaled up or like done a little bit more heavily. They're like going to change the looks of things a little bit. They're going to update like the UI and how certain things in the launcher work. It's just going to be a big overhaul of the game, but not in like any way that's going to like I brought this up when we were talking about this when I was like, this seems like it's going to be like Dota from like 2023, like the spring 2023 update where they added 33% more space and things to the map. They reworked how Roshan worked, reworked how the pits worked and the lake worked, changed a bunch of mechanics, added some new objectives on the map, reworked, gave like heroes new things to work towards, reworked a bunch of abilities and things like it feels like this is just going to be an evolution of the core gameplay of League, but in a way that's not going to actually affect the almost like how to almost how Overwatch did when they added hero abilities. It feels like that's a more drastic version of what this is going to be as far as we can tell already.
Yeah.
So
it feels yeah, and I would say also the Counter-Strike Go to Counter-Strike 2 update. Because people forget that CS2, while it's called CS2, it's not actually a sequel to CS:GO. It is a massive update that they did to CS:GO, and they renamed CS:GO CS2. This doesn't feel maybe quite as well. I guess you could say it's actually kind
we're
of
gonna have to
similar,
wait and see how big it is, especially when they talk about it a little more post break here.
Yeah.
But my thought process here is that it's going to be closer to what Dota did than what CS2 did, maybe with a little more UI and like interface changes.
Yeah.
Rather than gameplay changes like Dota was focused on. But
the one thing they have to just not do is like they have to. I mean, I don't think I saw someone speculating about it, but I don't think this is even going to happen anyway. That like you would have to get like a new client or something like that.
No.
But yeah, no, they're not risking.
They're not fucking with that. They're not. They might change how it functions in the client, like that. They might change it to more closer to how like Valorant works than how League works, or something. Like there's things that they could change in the client, but they're not. I don't think they're gonna call this League next, like League of Legends next. There's no way they're rebranding League of Legends because that's what so many companies have done poorly. Where CS2 is like the one recent example of it going well. Destiny to Destiny 2. I know that wasn't Bungie's decision, like full decision to do. That was almost like an Activision decision because they were still working with Activision at the time for like the everything, and they're like, hey, but like Destiny's numbers are dropping. Why don't we launch Destiny 2 to get more people to come back because it's a sequel, all that, and that kind of fucked over what Bungie wanted to do with the franchise in terms of having it just be a full-on live service game with under one title forever. And other companies have run into this same issue. If you're doing it, you can call the update whatever you want. You can call this League of Legends next, like League of Legends : next, but the game is still called League of Legends. You don't, and the only thing that changes is like some splash art and some how you're marketing it, maybe how you title the updates and stuff. You can do that, but you don't want to go away from what the League of Legends branding, because you are like arguably the biggest game in the world, like the biggest solo game in the world, other than like a Fortnite or like a Roblox, but that's not even like that's its own category of thing. So
yeah, because they have so much. There's so much like there's so many different games packed into each of those. I'm curious. I'm curious to see what goes on with this, and it's important. And we wanted because we wanted to also mention this is happening right at the same time that Supervive, which is a game that was developed by a lot of
Former Riot
ex
people.
Riot people who went over to Theorycraft Games. They have announced that they are suspending and ending the live service for that game. So it will eventually it'll essentially so Theorycraft announced today. This is from Dean Takahashi at GamesBeat. Theorycraft announced today is ending live service support for Supervive in February. Um, so this was like a game that was kind of like obviously there was a lot of like Riot League of Legends inspiration. It was very much like it was pretty much a MOBA battle royale hybrid.
It was
With
the way they sold it to me, because I did a lot of interviews with the team and I played in a bunch of the betas and did a bunch of stuff with them because I was very interested in this game. I fell off of it pretty quickly just because I'm as everyone will learn very
a
quickly.
lot of people did, and that's why
Yeah.
that's why we are where we're at.
Yeah, like I'm sitting here as I'm not a big battle royale guy. I'm not even a big multiplayer guy really, outside of playing with friends. Like Scott and I jumped into some games. We had a good time with it. I had a really good time in the betas playing around with like some of the people in the community server, the content creation and press server. I think the game was really well designed. It had like a very interesting concept. It was at its core they pitched it to me because I'm a fighting game guy as a battle royale MOBA that has elements of hero shooters and fighting games because there's combos, there's traversal, hero abilities are at the core of the game, but in a way that you can't really do in a MOBA because they work in different ways and the map is ever changing. It's never going to be the same thing twice because the way things close around the battle royale element of it is always keeping things fresh. The item drops and some of the things you can do on the map change constantly. The concept was cool. The developers were awesome. This is just one of those instances. This is the thing that people talk about. This is the game, like it's the Knockout Cities. It's the Epic Games published Iron Galaxy Wrestling game that happened, the battle royale there. It's a game that comes out with a really unique concept. It finds a core audience, but that core audience is not enough to sustain the game at a level that they just can't grow. They can't find a way to keep the game around long term versus working on something new. Whether the game was a flop, I haven't read like the statement from the developers and stuff. I should probably go do that, but I mean,
I can read right here. So this is from Jess Nam, executive producer. She announced it on the Games X page. This was not an easy decision for us to make. We know Supervive has a core community that loves what it has to offer. I'll skip ahead to what the let's see. This is from Takahashi. A huge number. Let's see. But those change the changes they've made. They tried to essentially do a bunch of changes to the core combat and like mix things up to keep people engaged. Those changes have not been effective enough in bringing new players. That's only gotten harder. Nam said. A huge number have engaged, but most move on after their initial time with the game. She said it was an ambitious and expensive game to support, and so the team decided maintaining the game was not sustainable. It will ship patch 2.04 with a final bundle of completed skins for free. And then the positive to take away from this is that Theorycraft is not closing. They are not, because you do sadly see this a lot where a game making a live service, a studio making a live service game. When the game goes down, they go down with it.
Downscales heavily.
Yeah. So they are going to be working on a different kind of game. They said they're going to go quiet for a while. They said players who bought items in the last few months can ask the company for refunds. So that's good. So a lot of positivity. Obviously a sad result. I think I share same sentiments with you, where it's like it was a fun game. It was just one that like a lot of the other players, and they've said so themselves. So it's not like it's just our opinion. Played it for a little bit, but didn't really want to. Didn't want to keep playing it. Just because there wasn't enough to really hook you in. And it's hard for games like this to do that because there's so much competition. And there's so many, it's hard, especially with free to play games. It is hard to because free to play games have this thing where it's a low barrier of entry, but it's hard to leave once you're in because a lot of these players who really get invested will not actual investments, but they'll buy skins, they'll buy cosmetics, and so once you pay for those, you have this feeling. It's like, well, I've already bought all these skins and all these things. It's like if I leave and stop playing and go play something else, I've kind of thrown all that money away. It's just going to sit in this account that I'm not using for a long time. Like whether that's your Valorant skins or your Marvel Rival skins or your counter. I mean, I will say at the very least with your Counter Strike inventory, you can go off and sell that for real money, or at least
you can liquidate
sell
it,
Steam funds. But for everything else, like your Rivals, your League of Legends, your Valorant, and most other free to play games that have stuff like this, the things you buy, you can't get your money back for them. You bought them, and those are yours. And so if you don't use them, they go to waste. And so I feel like that's one aspect that keeps players into their staying within the free to play game that I've already committed a bunch of time.
It's the gamble of these open ecosystems where you're trying to get people to come in and spend your time with your game, and then I mean, I have no issue, like, whenever I pick up a free-to-play game, like, they dropped the new Fire Emblem game out of the blue a couple months back, and it's like, okay, cool. This game is not for me, but I'm going to play it enough for the first month that I'm willing to drop $10 on the battle pass that they have because I can get a character that I really like from a different Fire Emblem game, and I can explore what that game has to offer for a month, and then I can bounce without any worry of having FOMO or whatever. That kind of stuff is what they're betting on. Or what you said, where they people feel obligated to keep coming back because they've spent the money and they have those things in that ecosystem. But you have so much. The market is so open with free to play games, whether that's MMOs, shooters, battle royales, MOBAs, all of these games that are just around and have different offerings. And for new IP and new games, even with such creative concepts and concepts that work. At least in terms of functional, I didn't expect to like the game as much as I did when I played Supervive for the first time back when I was a DOT and that initial pitch came through.
Yeah.
But I barely multiplayer games have a hard time hooking me. I go back to Marvel Rivals almost purely because it's a hero shooter, which I enjoy hero shooters enough, and I play with friends.
Yeah,
that's what gets me to come back. I couldn't sell Supervive to people beyond you and Tyler when we played for the couple weekends that we played or whatever. That was pretty much it. So I don't know, that it sucks to see, but I'm at least happy that Theorycraft's sticking around because that team did something cool, and I hope they can do something cool in a way that actually can hit next time. But this is just another one of those live service games that stuck around for a year, and now that it's been a year, they kind of see the writing on the wall where it's like, hey, we need to move on quick or we're going to run into more issues later. Because this wasn't what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, looking forward to see when they come out of their current period what they do next, because that'll be different. Yep. So I'm curious to see that'll look like.
Yeah. We can just wrap it up.
Anything else?
Yeah, there's two short little things at the end here. Just one of them's almost like a PSA for people, and kind of not a warning, but just kind of a heads up. So. Steam has announced that they're no longer producing the LCD model of the Steam Deck. The LCD model will no longer be produced. It is out of stock in the US store right now, not being produced. As soon as their stock, the refurbished stock and whatever else they might put up on the website is gone, they will no longer be producing it. They're going to continue producing the OLED, as far as everybody can tell. They've already said, hey, we're not announcing anything new. This is the caveat. This does not mean something new about the Steam Deck is coming. Because they've already said they're probably not going to talk about it for a while, especially with the new products.
They're already aggregating us, Cale.
Exactly.
They're already aggregating.
So I wanted to give this heads up. So this just means if you wanted to get really the cheapest model of the Steam Deck available with the OK screen, you probably should start looking now, because these are going to go. They're still readily available in a lot of places, all secondhand markets and stuff. You can go find them if you want them. The OLED is just going to be the one that they focus on. Both the 512 and then the 1 terabyte models are still going to be around. This is just them clearing stock, clearing out. Oh my gosh, Maddox!
What happened?
I don't know what he's doing. Someone's turning around in my porch. That he scared the shit out of me. But yeah, no. This is just them clearing like essentially the way for their new products that are coming and going to start being listed on the website and stuff. This is just them shrinking their offerings because now they're going to have the four core products at smaller SKUs or at a smaller offering of SKUs. So just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that this is not them getting ready to announce something new about the Steam Deck's next model. That'll come probably next in 2027 into 2026, 2027. As they've said in like some of the interviews, they're not really looking, they don't want to just be iterative. They want to make it something truly new when they do it. So just wanted to shout this out because it's important that people know. And then Hollow Knight, and this is up in the air because Hollow Knight is Hollow Knight. Silksong is getting an expansion, or a DLC, not expansion, titled Sea of Sorrows in 2026. And there's also a free Switch 2 upgrade coming for the original game. So there's going to be an upgraded version of the original game so people can play it at the higher frame rates and stuff on Switch 2. Mm-hmm. This is just funny. So they announced that the bunch of free stuff's coming for the games. Team Cherry's just doing like a celebration thing with all these announcements, but there is a entirely new DLC called Sea of Sorrow coming in 2026. So be on the lookout for that, especially for everybody that really loves Silksong. It's going to be new bosses, new tools, new areas, completely free. And so we'll see. People are already making jokes that this is gonna never come out and it's gonna be the next game. So
I think my partner and I just got some Switch gift cards for Christmas. I may use my half on Silksong for Switch 2. I think that'd be a good Switch 2 game.
I guess we can wrap this up like talking about kind of what we're playing and what we're interested in doing. So you talked about Arc Raiders a little bit. Obviously I got 2K26 unfortunately for me and my NBA addiction. But I only play that when I'm like bored out of my mind. I lay in my recliner like while I'm heating my back after the gym and listen to a podcast. So it's like my mind numbing game.
That's good.
Yeah, I've learned to pick my battles when I play 2K. But I picked up oh my gosh, it's like the casual fishing game that everybody's been talking about. Something chill, Cast and Chill.
Okay,
I believe the name is because it was on sale on Steam and
it's on the winter sale.
Yeah, and I was like, I had a bunch of friends recommend it to me, and I was like, you know what? That seems like a good like Christmas, because Christmas Day, I'm cooking biscuits and gravy with my dad. We're gonna do stockings and presents, and then we're gonna hang out, watch football, watch basketball, and just kind of hang out at the house. So I needed a game that I could like have one headphone in, just like sitting on the couch while I'm watching football and basketball with my dad and do kind of chill because it's like an idle and active game. So there's a couple of those that's becoming a genre that I'm interested in, just like because I think it's really experimental. It's pretty cool. So I picked up that. I need to pick up Unbeatable. I'm trying not to buy games because I think one of my goals for 2026 is going to be like play less new games that I'm not specifically actively looking forward to. Like do indie games, do the big games that I need to be kept up on. But other than that, like go through my backlog and start playing like games that I'm missing out on. And so like I do want to get Unbeatable. There's a couple other like Seance of Blake Manor. There's a couple of those kind of games that I need to do on top of like beating Blueprints. So that's kind of like my strategy is like there's a couple games that I'm sitting on, but yeah, the Cast and Chill was the one that I picked up yesterday. And I was like, that'll be my Christmas Day chill game. I'm also playing I'm trying to convince my brother to play Metroid Prime 4 with me because we played that was one of the games we got when we got our GameCube. And so I'm like, hey, do you want to play Metroid Prime 4? And he's like, I haven't played Metroid Prime since we played it on GameCube together. And I was like, if the offer's on the table, I'll buy it. I got the Switch too, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to sell them on that. So that'll probably get pushed off for a little bit here, just because I'm not. That might be something I'd do a replay of, is the Metroid Prime trilogy leading into 4, because I've heard mixed things on 4, and I'm not like clamoring to play it. Like one of my best friends from college came over here for dinner the other night with a bunch of our friends, and he was talking about how he 100%ed it already because he's a huge Metroid guy. And he was like, it's a really good game, but it has its flaws, and it's like unless you're like super into it, I could see people not liking it as much. And I'm just like,
I've heard a little mixed things from about that one.
Yeah, I've just been kind of. It's just one of those ones where I'm looking at it and I'm like, I could play it pretty much whenever I want. I'm not, if I get the story spoiled for me, I'm not like beat up about it because I like the gameplay of Prime enough that I'd probably still play it. So
I think when I'm when I'm good, when I take a break from Arc Raiders and the college football, I think I'll go back and try and finish one of the games that I didn't finish from earlier this year. And I can't decide whether I want that to be Avowed or Assassin's Creed Shadows. I had a lot of fun with both of them. Or do I just, instead of going to Shadows, do I use my new PS5 and I just get Ghost of Yotei?
Yeah, that one.
I think I do that one.
I mean, it's either Avowed or that one. Like Shadows is like, I'm not an Assassin's Creed guy. I played a lot of Assassin's. This is the same thing with Final Fantasy. I had this conversation with my buddy David last night because we were sitting in a call, just a couple of us playing games, and he was like, "Cale, are you a Final Fantasy guy?" And I said, "Can I classify myself as a Final Fantasy guy?" And I was like going through my head. I played 4, 5. I played 4, 6. Every version of 7 that's out. I haven't finished 8. I haven't played 9. 9's the big one that I'm missing on the ones that I know everybody loves.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I really want to play. I have it on Switch. I got it when it was on sale a couple months ago. That's another game on my backlog that I really want to hit. 10 is my favorite. I love 10 and 10 2. That's like my favorite Final Fantasy. And among my favorite RPGs of all time. I didn't play 11 because that's the original online one. I haven't played 12. I can't remember if I played all of 13 or just 2 of the 13 games because there's 3 of them. I played the first expansion the base game of 14, the relaunch. I played that in college and had to stop playing because I almost flunked all my classes my first semester. I played 15, and that's a whole other story.
I think you're a Final Fantasy fan. I think we can decide. I can say you are.
I played 15. I haven't played 16. So there's like 3 Final Fantasies in there that I need to play. But I was like, I don't know if you can count me as a Final Fantasy fan, but I played so much Final Fantasy that I guess, yes, I am. But it's the same thing. Desmond is a huge Kingdom Hearts fan. I played more Kingdom Hearts games than him, but he's a bigger Kingdom Hearts fan than me. I played every Kingdom Hearts game, including the mobile game. I don't like Kingdom Hearts that much, especially compared to him. Like, so I was sitting here like, they were asking, like, are you a Final Fantasy fan? And it's like, I don't even remember where the conversation was started. Like, are you this fan or that fan? But like, Assassin's Creed, that was what it was. Are you an Assassin's Creed fan? And I was like, I played 2, 3, Brotherhood, Revelations, Black Flag.
Yeah.
I played through all that. I didn't play Unity. I haven't played, like, basically after Black Flag, I didn't play a game until Odyssey.
Yeah.
And then I played Odyssey.
I didn't play Black Flag. I did play a bit of Odyssey and Origins, but wait, Origins? What's the one that's in Egypt?
Origins, yeah.
I played a little bit of that, but I didn't like get very far in them just because those games are so big. It's
if Odyssey wasn't Greece mythology, didn't have Greece mythology base, I wouldn't have cared.
Yeah, it's just they're way too big, and that's a big problem with like Ubisoft RPGs, and that's how I felt, and that's a little bit how I feel with Shadows as well.
It's like, too big.
It's really big. It's like, I'm looking at the map, I'm like, good lord.
It has a lot of really cool concepts. The traversal is cool because of how varied the landscapes are, especially once you get into the kind of really open portion, like 15 hours in. But man, those games are a drag. I can't speak to Avowed because I haven't played Avowed, but yeah, probably just Ghost of Yotei because I feel like you'd go. The sad part about Shadows is like probably more in depth and has more like of the historical realness that a lot of people like. And like that kind of stuff compared to Yotei, but Yotei is going to like flow better. The environments are going to be much more stunning. The combat's going to be flashier.
Mm-hmm.
like that kind of stuff. So the only thing I've heard about Yotei is that a lot of people didn't connect with Eric Ishii's character as much as they connected with Jin Sakai, which I don't know if that's a flaw in the story's part or because I thought Jin was a good character, not a great character. But that's just me. I connected more with some of the side characters than Jin. I do think the entire story was good though. So but I do think Yotei is probably the call. Just because it's a fresh experience, you can break in your new PS5 on something fresh, and kind of go into the new year with like completing something or at least getting far in something new, and go from there. So, but yeah, I think that's gonna do it for us today. I don't really have a question of the day, chat. We're gonna try and start putting that further up, for like a little earlier in the episode, like a discussion based part of it, but I guess just like if you have deeper thoughts on anything that we talked about today, share them with us either on socials. We're easy to find on socials. Link below. Share. You can post a comment on YouTube. Whatever you want to do. Just talk about your thoughts on some of the stuff we talked about. I'd be interested to hear more varied thoughts coming from people that have listened to the discussions we had, because obviously social media is a dumpster fire no matter which platform you're on. So. Regardless, next week's episode will be our last episode of the year. We'll probably have something to discuss in terms of our thoughts on the year of gaming as a whole, or something themey. Knowing us, throwing something together at the last second for that. But until then, enjoy your holidays. Merry Christmas. Whatever you decide you want to do, whether it's just hang out with family, watch some football and sports, or just eat a shit ton of food. So. But have a good one.
And all that. All right, yeah. Bye, everyone.